Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's a Wnr488. It's AEW All In, and I'm not alone. Of a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show. It is, of course, the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello. It's going well, thank you. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Yeah, can you believe it is a week ago today that we were at Wembley seeing All In? It doesn't feel like it, does it?
I really did. I woke up today kind of just reliving like the morning of All In and just kind of remembering the excitement and just sort of getting up and getting ready straight away. It was a very weird feeling to know that you're actually going to see a pay-per-view, premium live event or pay-per-view live, and just actually going there live rather than actually sort of like going about your day for the whole day, waiting for the day to end, avoiding social media all day for the Monday to then catch up with it, like then. Yeah, it was just really surreal, to be honest. And I kind of miss that feeling already.
Yeah, well, hopefully again, it is going to happen, spoiler alert, next year. So hopefully we'll have that feeling. But we are going to review All In. But we're not alone, because up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan deity, it is Monty. How's it going, Monty? Man, you're pulling the double this weekend.
Yep. Still working me to death, as always. But it's okay. At least I'm doing something I love. So, that's the way I got. That's how I console myself after being very, very exhausted after all this work you give me. But no, how do you guys feel, man? You guys are a part of history. I've been to some shows, but I've never been a part of history. You can pass it down to your nieces, nephews, kids, whatever you decide to have in the future, and say that you were a part of the most attended wrestling event, depending on how long they last. I don't know, because wrestling is in a boom period. Everyone is selling all types of stuff. But you guys were a part of history, so hold on to that. It's incredible. How you guys feel?
Yeah. Well, I wish I'd written your intro, because you've done the job for me, basically. But yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about that. So we're going to delve in, speak about our day, do all the stuff we normally do. Because like I said, people listening as well, we are very lucky here on the WNR podcast this past year, as it were, to be to so many events and be able to view it, with that kind of perspective. But Monty, I should let you know, and I didn't mention it yesterday, but there were two incidents at All In. Now, we all know about Punk and Perry, but another one that we've not spoken about is between me and Gina. Now, again, I was completely right. It is completely me. I celebrated a match too hard. It was, Monty. It really was. And Gina hasn't spoken to me since, so I'm hoping we can sort something out, And it got me thinking, It got me thinking, what have I got to do to kind of make her want me? What have I got to do to be heard? What do I say when it's all over? Sorry, seems to be the hardest word. I mean, it's sad, so sad. It's a sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd. It's sad. It's sad. Why can't we talk it over? Because it seems to me that sorry seems to be the hardest word. Gina, I'm sorry. I love you. How are you?
I'm good. I slightly forgive you. Maybe we'll see at the end of the pod if I've fully forgiven you. But again, I took it personally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But up until that point, you really enjoyed it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, All In was great up until that point.
Everything until you ruined it.
Ruined the traitor.
Yeah.
You really did betray her, James.
Yeah. What was worse is I kind of jumped in the middle of them and then started kind of putting them in headlocks. It wasn't pretty. I'm not going to lie. No.
Wow.
It happens.
The truth, Monty, the truth is, me and Gina actually ganged up on his ass. And he was in the corner crying like a little girl.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I know who Monty believes.
Yeah. You're right. One story is way more convincing than the other.
Yep.
So, Gina, you're right, though. And like I said, you've kind of we're going to get through this together. We're going to have it's a bit like the AEW locker room. You know, we might not get on, but we're going to see. Going to get it.
Oh wow, we're
done,
that bad.
You know, honestly, like, I don't know. Like Monty, man, like it's Like, I thought I lost them. I'm not going to lie.
I had to swap places, so I wasn't next to him.
Yeah, she actually started talking to a complete stranger and ignoring me completely. And I get that guy had like the best event ever.
Oh yeah, he'll never forget it.
He was there alone, so I was providing him some extra company anyway.
Yeah.
Wow, just ruining the chemistry of this team that we built, James. Wow, one show.
He does it all to himself as well, Monty. I honestly tried to be Switzerland, be the middle person, but James he continued to ruin it. He continued to put his foot in his mouth. So he's only got himself to blame here.
I do apologise for taking my top off, and also for what I did with that bottle of water. And again, like I said, Monty, you've been to wrestling events. You know what it's like. You get a bit overexcited and all of a sudden you're bringing out your face paint.
Wow.
Monty, when we get
starting to understand.
Monty, when we get to it in the event, just know that as a witness to the event, I will let James say his piece, and then I will just give you sort of what do you how do you America say it? Is it the 414 in terms of like the down there?
Yeah, the 414.
Is that it? Yeah, I'll give you the 414.
Well, like I said, Monty, whilst you were messaging us about Punk and Perry, I had my own problems to deal with. So there is a committee review about my actions, and we're hoping to hear about them in a week.
Yep.
So we'll find out.
Yep.
But I have not been suspended. That is the good thing about it. So we are going to continue at this moment. Like you said, Monty, we have got history coming up and everybody is together. So we're going to catch up with AEW first and foremost. And we had the Owen Hart tournament and the men's first round, CM Punk. Remember him? He beat Kojima. Joe beat Strong. Hobbs beat Dustin, who bled, of course. Ricky Starks beat Juice. Starks beat Hobbs in the semi with Punk beating Joe. The final in Calgary, Ricky Starks beating CM Punk. Now, Gino, this is a long time ago, but still, Ricky Starks winning is always a good thing, surely.
Was that rhetorical?
Oh, no, I'm just asking. What your see, Monty, it's already started. I knew this would happen. No,
yeah, I'm not even trying to give you a bit of a stupid question, wasn't it?
No,
I mean, I'm
how
not
did you
say,
feel then? All right, I'll change the question. How did you feel about Ricky Starks winning?
No, he lose some matches. I'm always going to want him to win.
Do you think it's a good thing he won the Owen Hart tournament in your mind? Like, can you see him having a better year now?
That's
it. Well, okay. Well, I'm glad.
Attitude comes from you, James. Like, what's your problem with Ricky?
I haven't got a problem. There's nothing wrong with Ricky.
You're just like JR. You're like a disappointed father, and the way you said that is like you're not happy that Ricky won this. So what's your problem with Ricky?
No, I literally haven't got a problem with Ricky. I was just asking, as seeing as you're a Ricky Starks fan, how you thought.
I definitely agreed with him winning this. I think it helps his character and building him too. So I'm definitely pleased. I'm overjoyed.
Yeah, I'm glad. Hopefully it's going to be a long show. Anyway, so we'll move on then. So we talk about the women's Owen Hart tournament. Athena beating Billy Starks in the first round with Sky Brew beating Anna Jay. Willow Nightingale beating Nyla Rose. Ruby Soho beating Britt Breaker, DMD. In the semi-finals, Ruby beat Sky Blue. And we see Willow Nightingale going through to the final, beating Ruby. So Ruby losing for the second year in a row. So Jaxie, Willow Nightingale winning the Owen Hart tournament. That's good, isn't it? Because she's been gaining a lot of momentum since the start of the year.
Definitely. I mean, she's had a great run of a year so far within 2023. You've got to kind of remember, she kind of debuted on Rampage or like rather in a Ring of Honor match on Rampage and things like that. And like just to see like the progress that she's had, she's gone on and won the first ever New Japan Women's Strong Championship. She had a great match against Mercedes Moné, even though it kind of sadly ended with Mercedes being injured. She's such a great baby face as well on AEW that like you're just kind of always happy when you hear her music, everything. So I was really pleased to see she was part of the tournament in the first place. And ultimately I had gone with like, sort of like a heel pick and a face pick for the women's division. I was really happy with the outcome because my heel pick was Athena. I think she's had a really great reign as Ring of Honor Women's Champion at the moment, and she's underappreciated, I think, for her level of wrestling. But my face pick was Willow Nightingale, so I was really pleased to see like her coming into the finals like this. Again, just really enjoying her character. She's the type of face character that you never need to turn heel, Yeah,
it's so much fun. And like I said, a bit Fina as well in a semi-final, her first loss in about a year, even though we didn't really know about it because it's just in Ring of Honor. But like I said, good stuff. Most of the matches for that one Collision alongside FTR versus White and Juice, who are having back-to-back Match of the Year nominations. We had Rampage 100 with Dark Order beating Hung Bucks. Blood and Guts was coming up with Kota Ibushi announced as the Elite's fifth member. Monty, why is it important with Kota Ibushi? What is the history with Kenny Omega, people who don't know it,
Yeah, long-time tag team partners, also great rivals, best friends, lovers. They are the Golden Lovers. They are him and Kenny Omega have just a bond that's just deeper than wrestling. They've just always been that way all the way back to their DDT days in Japan and leading into the New Japan days in Japan. So Kenny and Kota Ibushi they fought back in the day, had as two junior heavyweights, which is kind of crazy to think about when I look at them now. They were great rivals and even better tag team partners, and they have an awesome move set together, and it's just a whole lot of things that make people love them together. And when Kota Ibushi's with Kenny and the Bucks, they make the Golden Elite, and their whole mission statement is to change the world. And you can't tell me that if you look at where we are now, based on where we were just 4 or 5 years ago, that the Elite has not had a hand in changing the wrestling world. So, they're, like I said, two of the best and two of the most influential when it comes to the current style of professional wrestling over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, without doubt. Pac was Blackpool Combat Club's pick, and that was July 19th, Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club. But before that, Jungle Boy was no more. The video package cut off Tarzan Boy and featured Perry apparently bearing his Jungle Boy persona. He then beat Hook for the FTW title. Gina, what do you think of Jungle Boy's new direction, or Jack Perry as it was now, getting rid of the Jungle Boy and going heel? Is it going to work for him?
I think it will. I kind of was waiting for this to come. I knew at some point he was going to drop the Jungle Boy persona and just become Jack Perry and, go on a serious, run for the main picture, title picture. But I hope it works and I hope it pans out. I feel quite tentative with it at the moment. It is working for me, and I'm liking to see this new Jungle Boy come out, and I think he's just going to continue to grow as he goes on. So I think, like, even with each week, I'll like his persona of it more and more. I think it's a lot to take from going from his happy Jungle Boy persona to this serious Jack Perry who's trying to be, not an annoying character, but more of a annoyed character who's done with being the nice guy and done with being in a tag team partnership. He wants to be out there for just himself. And so I hope that his character will work out, but I feel like I got to grow to like him each week I see him, do you know what it is? His entrance music. It doesn't work. I don't know what it is.
It's the opposite of what it was.
I mean,
Thank you, Christian Cage, by the way. Thank you, Christian Cage. I think
Yeah. You
that's
know
where
what
the
it is?
change really started.
Yeah. The one thing that I actually want to add on to what my sister said about the entrance music, it's too slow and to build up. So like he really has to take his time coming out, which means like it's just going to be kind of a very drawn out entrance, and he doesn't really need that. Like I think he could have just done with like different. I think the entrance music is just it doesn't work. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not the music that I don't like. I just don't like the pairing. I think it's very slow and drawn out to begin with. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know how many people pay attention to sort of like entrance music, but it kind of reminds me of Marina Shafir's like music when she first joined AEW. It's very quiet to start off with. So first, you really don't know who it is coming out, first of all, because you can't really hear it. Unless you're obviously live and you can see it up big, you know? So I think sometimes, we don't talk enough about how entrances can make an impact. And for some reason, like the impact is not there for me with this heel turn that Jack Perry is doing. I mean, I'm a little bit opposite in my thoughts and feelings towards this Jack Perry persona. I actually like it. And I think if he actually continues to build on this persona that he's now become, I actually think that he really can perfect the like sort of arrogant, like sort of like really young Christian Cage sort of arrogance, like when he first turned on Edge and that sort of arrogance. That's what he's reminding me of at the moment. And I think he can hone it. I think he can like really like go well as a heel, to be honest, which I wouldn't have said before. But I think the transition has been slow, yes, but I think he's needed that to actually really perfect what he will become. So I'm intrigued and excited to see where things go, but I don't think the entrance music is impacting his heel persona enough. I just don't think it works. So I have to agree with my sister on that statement that I don't like the music, but it must have cost so much to get the rights to that as well.
Yeah, well, Tony don't care. He's got money for days, isn't he? But we then see Blood and Guts, which was the Golden Elites, Kenny Omega, Adam Page, Young Bucks, and the debut in Kota Ibushi against Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Kazuki Takeshita, and the Bastard Pack. Callis pulled Takeshita out. The Golden Elite choked out Wheeler with a steel handcuff. Moxley had no choice but to watch. Monty, what were your thoughts on Blood and Guts? Because if you don't like this type of matchup, you're going to hate it. But if you love like bed and nails and blood and barbed wire, then this is going to be for you.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I think that's basically my takeaway from it. Also, it wasn't really to my taste, mostly because not only was it a little long, I just, like you said, once Moxley takes no, Kenny took one too, right on the bed of nails or whatever. Once you do the bed of nails spot and all of that, like once you see someone foul on something very, very short, and Kota Ibushi was falling back on it on purpose, just taking back bumps for no reason, just to show that he's a psychopath, I guess, after the match. But once you've seen it a couple of times, you pretty much got what this match was all about. And basically the big twist or the big hook in the end with, like I said, Takeshita pulled out. Okay, you're right. That makes sense. Don Callis slimy. Of course, he's going to protect his investment. I like it. But Pac just turning on them basically on a limb, kind of just like, so they did not have their team together whatsoever, and you're fighting the Elite, who was finally united again, basically at this point. So it just seemed like a miscalculation that made the Blackpool Comeback Club look bad. And I get it; they're missing Danielson, and Danielson probably would have been there I think we know he would have been in that spot if he wasn't hurt. So maybe we get a different little hook for the finish if that doesn't, if he's not hurt. But honestly, that was pretty much one of the only things I didn't too much care for. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I would have liked it if he at least stuck it out and just lost the match instead of just them arguing and breaking, and splitting up. Now, I did set up some nice stuff going forward, so I didn't mind that when it comes to Claudio and Pac later on in Ring of Honor, if anybody even catches that stuff. But again, like I said, it was a fine match, like I said, but it's not really. If it's not to your taste, if you're not into that, then I understand completely if you just hated it. But to me, it was entertaining enough, and it was definitely cool for me to see the Elite all together. But yeah, just again, not necessarily the greatest blood and guts thing to me. But I haven't really been too high on any of their blood and guts, really, to be honest, to me personally. So that's where I stand on it. But I'm not mad at anyone who loved it.
No. Then we get the random tag team eliminator with MJF and Adam Cole. The Hijinks got them a tag title shot, beating Sammy and Danny in the finals. Great dance off, by the way. On Collision, MJF and Adam Cole came up short versus FTR. Afterwards, Cole turned his back, gave MJF a chance to knock him out, but they hugged as MJF cried. And then on Dynamite 200, the main event was made official. MJF versus Adam Cole. Gina, what? Again, this is difficult because this is All In's basically main event now. But what have you thought of the hijinks between MJF and Adam Cole and being brought together? But for me, it felt random at first. But is it working?
For sure. For me, it's working, definitely. I think because of the groundwork that MJF and Adam Cole are both putting into this storyline, not just on the televised shows like Dynamite and Rampage, but also on their personal social medias, i.e. X or Twitter, and even Adam Cole's Twitch page. Adam Cole is a big gamer and a big streamer. He's known as the Chugs on Twitch, and even in one of his streams, MJF interrupted him gaming by calling him and was trying to come up with the name for the double clothesline. Or no, it wasn't that. It was something like that anyway. But either way, Adam Cole was like, look, I'm not talking about this. I'm trying to game. Can you get off my phone? But it was hilarious. So I think the groundwork that they put into this is making it work. I was really skeptical at first. And I also was like, I was not into it when they first paired them together. I didn't see why they were doing this and what outcome they were looking to get with this storyline. But for me, at the moment, it's just worked because they both the guys have put that much effort into it.
Yeah, without a doubt. We see Shida beating Tony Storm to win the AEW Women's title as well. JAS left Chris Jericho. Young Bucks beat the Hardys. We find out it's going to be FTR versus Young Bucks at All In. We have Jungle Boy beating RVD. Now, Jax, you have this on your bingo card for 2023. Jungle Boy versus RVD. RVD didn't look too bad, though, did he? To be fair.
Right? I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think when we first see him, he's like just kind of comes out, first of all, as an announcement that like he would challenge Jungle Boy. And kind of the way that he was walking made me worry, like, oh, is he fit enough to be able to, like, go a full match with Jungle Boy? Then all of a sudden the match happened and that came out of nowhere. RVD still has it, honestly. He kind of just took me back to the nostalgia days. I started reminiscing about, how amazing his hardcore matches actually really were. I'm really reappreciating the legend that is RVD and what he had done, like kind of going through it again. It was like really nice to see him. So this kind of, for me, was like a really feel-good match. And to see like RVD persevere so well, like I knew that the outcome would be that Jungle Boy would definitely cheat. Like that is to help continue this heel persona of his. But like they really gave a great match. They didn't like take anything from RVD, and I really appreciate that because I really think the crowd really appreciated seeing like how well he still has it.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt, really, really good stuff from RVD. On Collision, and to nobody's surprise, Ricky Starks has been suspended for 28 days, so he is safe from Gina. We knew this was going to happen at some point, but I mean, Gina, it's been a bit of a upsetting news, Gina, but you understand why they did it.
Have sent Tony that 3-page letter on why he should let me backstage at Wembley when Ricky's there. Really, because that just made him pull the plug on even bringing Ricky to London.
Especially being written in blood wasn't probably the best idea. Do you know what I mean? So I
thought add to the sentiment, James.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
But no, that was really frustrating to hear, to be honest. I think I was actually on call with Jaxie at the time, and I just burst out crying.
Oh no!
I was like, they're screwing me, sis.
Oh well, that's
Honestly,
yeah.
He beat down a 70-year-old man, and he's still your man. Oh man, you'll stand by with him through anything.
Jesus Christ.
Well, we'll move on, and we're still on Dynamite. Eddie Kingston returned. Will Ospreay attacking Jericho. The go home Dynamite changed a couple of things on the card. Ray Phoenix was written out because of visa issues. Santana returned to help the BCC's assault on Eddie and Penta. The Jericho and Ospreay had a contract signing. Ospreay saying the match is going to change his life. After he beats Jericho, he's going to be the only man to say he's beaten Jericho, Omega, and Okada in 2 months. Called this the biggest match of his career, bigger than WrestleMania. All right, Chris. But Monty, this is the Will Ospreay that we know, and he seems motivated. And the rumours about having 6 months left on his New Japan contract as well is putting him in the window at the perfect time here, isn't it?
Yeah, man. And I think at the end of the day, every time Ospreay's contract has been up over the last 3 or 4 years, he's always garnered a lot of attention. I remember a few years back before the pandemic, and I think one time in 2021 when he had a freedom, it was a lot of people who definitely was courting him. But I think where his stock is now, after not only just this year and just what he's been doing in general over the last few years in Japan, he's gonna be seeing some big time money deals, and I think this was a great little nod. Even if I think he'll end up going back to New Japan, because he talked about it in the past that New Japan is his family, that's his style. You know what I'm saying? I think at the end of the day, New Japan is gonna have to go into their checkbook. They don't like to necessarily do that and guarantee people things, but they might have to make some guarantees if they want to keep Ospreay at this point, because that's just how, again, not only over a lot of people on the internet or a lot of hardcore wrestling fans who watch New Japan and all that, they definitely know how good Ospreay is. But I think he has put the world on notice with a lot of his performances in AEW, and continuing to do what he does around the world. But like you said, this promo, man, this segment was incredible. Even he actually got me interested in a Jericho feud, and it's not just because of him, but I mean, even brought the best out of Jericho, I thought, when it came to the promo. So I really loved the back and forth, and I just love Ospreay being real. Again, it's kind of like we talked about with New Japan. There's no one's writing anything for Ospreay. So and this is a very, very real promo. You can tell how much being at Wembley meant to him. As a matter of fact, when this was initially announced, even before he really Aussie Open was really, and him and the United Empire was really starting to show up in AEW, when they first started to talk about doing something with in All In at Wembley, Ospreay was one of the first ones I know on Twitter saying he has to be on that show. So I knew this was going to happen. Even if it was the Jericho match, I knew he would shine, and I'm happy for him, because again, I've watched him grow from a skinny punk kid on the in Rev Pro, just doing a bunch of flips, halfway killing himself just to entertain us, and then just to see what he's evolved into, literally one of the most complete and probably the best wrestler in the world for a lot of people's money. So yeah, man, this was beautiful. This was like the culmination of that in the ring Will legend on national television around the world, talking about talking about your match on the biggest show ever. So yeah, man, it was big time, man, big time stuff for Ospreay.
Yeah, without a shadow of that. AR Fox fucked it. He was kicked out of the embassy. Christian took his place in the coffin match, and Billy Gunn returned, which means it was acclaimed versus House of Black at Wembley. So let's get to it then. August 27th, AEW All In 2023, and of course, Jaxie, Gina, and myself are all there. So Jaxie starts off your travel there, because a lot of people ask about it. But was travelling to London that difficult for you?
No, I live in London, so it actually wasn't in the slightest. Of course, I'm not going to reveal sort of my journey on how I got there. I'd rather not announce.
Yeah, we don't want Jimmy hearing that, really, do we?
Well, anyone for that matter. I don't think no one really needs to hear where I live. However, it was very nice. It was a very nice day. I already actually had my sister who lives back in the city that we are from originally in the UK, which is a town called Bristol, a city called Bristol. So she had already traveled up, so she had stayed overnight with me. So it was a really fun day, like sort of getting ready with my sister, having her here just to kind of enjoy the moment. We had actually met up with I'm gonna say some friends now, but we actually met with a couple that we're a big fan of Twitch. We sometimes stream, my sister and I, but we also are big fans of viewing people, and we kind of are part of a community of one Twitch streamer, and we met some people who on there who we talk regularly with, and they mentioned that they had gotten tickets. So we had organized actually meeting up for the first time, which was very, very lovely, just to actually bond over gaming and wrestling. It's something that's very rare to do in person. So, I have to give them a shout out because it was so lovely to meet up with them all. And we actually met up with them very close to where Wembley was. So it was very much in walking distance. So we avoided sort of the rough tube traffic that probably was initially at Wembley Stadium, which is where we met you.
And who else was at the bar? You said someone else was out there, weren't they?
Oh,
right.
yes. We literally were sat there eating lunch, and we looked to our right, and Dave Meltzer is sat to our right eating lunch. He was talking about Mercedes Moné. I definitely know that, but I didn't want it to look obvious. So, yeah, we just kind of continued on our conversation. But, I mean, I did not expect to kind of just look up to my right and just see Dave Meltzer sat to the right of me. So I'm going to say it was a pretty cool experience. I wasn't, immediately drawn to run up and actually speak to Dave Meltzer, considering how opinionated I've been on Twitter when it comes to some of his comments. So, yeah, it was probably best for me and him not to actually have a discussion because I don't know how much we'd agree on.
No, that's true, actually. I was stuck in the car for 2.5 hours trying to get to London. It was...
Sucks to be you.
It was awful, yeah. No, it really was. London's shit. Because again, Monty, I know what traveling is like in America. I know it's like, what was it? I heard once in America they think 100 years is a long time, and we think 100 miles is a long way. So I understand kind of what it's like. But again, to get to London and then have to be in traffic for another hour and a half. But it was great because you had all these weird businesses offering their car parking services, and you thought, we're never going to see that car again, are we? We're going to park here and then come back and it's going to be gone.
Right.
Just because this guy offered 20 quid rather than the £45 for parking. But it wasn't too bad. So we got there. But Wembley, I mean, Gina, we did the Clash, and I thought the Clash was quite big, but compared to Wembley was just fucking massive, wasn't it? Even walking around it.
Yeah, Wembley was huge. I knew the minute I arrived, there was no way I was going to get to Ricky Starks, even if he was here. The disappointment hit, for sure. But it was so big. Do you know what? I've been there before because I went there for a BTS concert, but I don't know why. It seemed so much bigger when we went this time for the wrestling. So, yeah, it was just crazy. I'm glad we stuck together because I would have got lost.
Well, I'm glad I can use share your on the phone now. You've taught me that, so I was managed to kind of find you guys. And when we met up, there was a huge line, Gina, weren't there? Behind us. We was like, what the fuck is this line for?
Yeah, we were to get into the area of Wembley.
Yeah, we were like, what's this line? It was just the merchandise, Monty. A line, honest to goodness, I can't even tell you how long it was. They must have only had 2 merchandise stalls in the entire Wembley. That's what it felt like.
Wow.
Yeah. But like I said, it was still quite good getting there. And when we did meet up, and it's always nice to see each other. And of course, me and Gina were speaking to each other at that time, so it was lovely. Going up to Wembley, getting a few pictures. And then obviously queuing's like a big thing as well, Monty, isn't it? You know, like you just think, oh right, okay, we're gonna get there. Gina, what was the queuing like to get into Wembley in itself?
I mean, the queues were a bit crazy, to be honest, when we all sort of started making our way up and around, and we just saw everyone waiting to go through the podiums. I just saw how big the queues were, and it was crazy. But for some reason, we were walking straight past them. Every time we were asking someone which side we needed to go in or queue in for our seats, they just kept telling us to walk straight past the queues. And I was like, well, don't mind if I do.
It was one of the weird, like hundreds and hundreds of people, Money, and literally we went through just like the main entrance, and the guy's like, "Yeah, come through," and there was like 2 people there, you know. Even one guy with like the kind of checking you. He looked at me, just went, "You can move on." I was like, "Well, I might have something on me, you know. You never know. Like, don't."
Oh my goodness.
Don't listen.
Yeah, you were the lowest of like options in terms of threat, James. Like, they were just
Yeah, to be fair, you're right. But even like, and again, Jaxie, this is true. Even when we were going for like drinks or food, like there was no queues. Like there was a queue, and then we'd just go to like the left-hand side of it and just be served. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I really thought we were actually in the wrong area. I was like, are we actually meant to be here? Like, are they sure they want to allow me to have straight access to beer? Like, are they sure that they want to give me like literally like the closest exit to where we were sat to where the women's toilet were? Are they sure they want to just give me free reign? Like, it was actually incredible. It was so nice to not feel overcrowded, though. You know, like I did the system for us where we were was actually really controlled. I mean, I don't know how long everyone was waiting for the queues down there, but I'm not gonna lie, I was so relieved to not be around there. I mean, there was one section, Monty, where we actually thought we were going to be part of this long queue and had to kind of walk all the way past the queue to try and find someone to ask where we were. But I had been drinking beer from like lunch, so I really needed the toilet, and there was like porta toilets all set up, and I knew I was not going to be able to hold it if I was in this queue. So I was like, guys, before we even go and find the guy so we can find this long entrance, let me quickly go to the toilet here. Monty, I had to hover. I was holding my breath. It's like porta toilets are just never going to be nice. It honestly was the worst experience. I was like, I do not want to do this again. Like, I'll stick to water, and I'll hardly drink for the rest of the time that I'm here. That was it, me done. And then we went and found the guy, and he was like, oh yeah, you need to go past the queue and all the way up there. Instantly went inside, and there was like, actual toilets there, and I was like, why did I just go through this whole process? Like, I literally was just feeling for myself, so I went and got beer.
I think that was the biggest issue, carrying the beer to the seats. Like,
yeah,
without
spilling it. Without spilling it. Because I was just in a rush constantly to get back to my seat. With how good a seat and a good a view we were in, like, I really didn't even want to use any of the matches for a toilet break. It was just really difficult. The whole atmosphere, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Gina, how did you find the seats? Because, like I said, at the time we were just like, we couldn't believe it at that point.
Yeah, the seats were just great, to be honest. That we had such a direct view, but we were also like very in good range of like the big screens as well. So, and we could see the entrance because we were to the side. So it was nice to kind of get that view, because I think even with the Clash and New Japan, we were kind of on the back side of it, so we could see them coming towards us from the entrance. But being on the side view was kind of a new view to see it from, and I enjoyed it. It was nice to be able to see them come out before they sort of got shrouded by the closer crowds. So the seats were great.
Yeah, and Jaxie, you were talking about people sitting a couple of seats in front of you as well, weren't you?
Yes. So, my sister and I, again, a huge fan of other wrestling podcasts and YouTubers. Hey, this is where this is how I found you, remember? Or actually, this is how you found me.
Yeah.
Just being a fan of, other sort of Twitter podcasters and stuff like that as well. So that's how you found me, James. So don't boo. But we've always been a huge fan of What Culture Wrestling. And we were like, lucky enough to be sat in front of, two of the hosts of What Culture Wrestling, which was, I think it was Phil Chambers and sis, who was the other one?
It was Andy Murray.
Sorry?
Andy Murray, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's it, Andy Murray. And I'm pretty sure it was another What Culture host there, but I think he either does more like What Culture Gaming or What Culture Horror. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it was just like, it was kind of like a wow moment just to actually be, a few hours ago, have been having lunch next to Dave Meltzer, but then, be watching wrestling with two YouTubers that we, sort of value as reviewers and content creators as well for wrestling. So yeah, it was a great experience again.
Yeah, and Monty, let me ask you a question. What would you rather have, chicken and chips or chips and falafel? What would you pick?
Chicken and chips.
Okay, thank you. That's
Chicken
what I
and
picked,
chips.
but apparently it wasn't good enough for Gina. Like, I made that decision. No, she wanted falafel.
I pointed out someone eating a falafel on our way to the seats, and I said to you, I want one of those falafel. I actually said that to you. So excuse me if I was a bit disappointed that you didn't get me a falafel box. And by the way, guys, I'm not being serious.
We got you chicken. We got you chicken. We did.
Good enough.
Yeah, can I just actually, anyone listening to us, like, we fed her. We fed
I
her.
was throwing chicken at the child in front of us in anger.
I
Throwing chicken.
I did not. I would not waste food like that. I threw beer on her instead. And that was
Actually, no, you did.
Oh, okay. So much better.
Right, Monty. Right, I'm gonna have defend my sister here, and I say half defend because in her defense, there was a really exciting moment during one of the matches. No, there was an exciting moment during the matches, and all of us reacted. She just happened to have her beer in her hand at the same time. And the girl suddenly was my sister. However, my sister was not sorry at all. She did not get she just kind of she just said sorry and then just continued on celebrating. It was great.
She did ask the little girl to buy her a beer, She was
hey, listen, look. Right, listen. The little girl, in her defense, the little girl didn't complain at all. She just carried on as well. She was just too into the wrestling.
I think she was scarred for life sitting in front of us because our language we tried our best, Monty, but by God.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not
it was really hard.
we were good at the point when she realized that we were twins and she was just staring.
Yeah, she was definitely fascinated.
So
yeah, and she kept on because she was paying more attention to us. That's there was more pressure to not swear, and then eventually I gave up and I was swearing. So I'm so sorry to the parents.
Everywhere. They were literally
oh my God.
I'm so sorry. If they ever listened to this, I am so very sorry for my language. There were plenty of other kids that I saw around that had headphones in. Maybe next time you should invest in some. Definitely.
Yeah, that's it. Put headphones on so you can't hear.
Yeah, tell them what to do.
Yeah. She was young enough to probably want to cover her eardrums as well. But hey, we don't know what the row in front of her were like. They could have been just as bad. We didn't know. We were too loud. We couldn't hear anyone else.
We weren't sure. She might have been foreign as well, Monty, so she might not have understood it. So
there you go. Justify it. Go ahead, justify it.
Listen, Monty, we have to, otherwise I'm going to feel incredibly awful for the rest of my life.
So that's us just getting in there, Monty, So that's literally us there. But we had 0 hour. I didn't know it was 2 hours long. You had Renee Paquette, Anthony Ogogo, Kip Sabian, and Big Show. So it was Anthony Ogogo and not Andrade. I thought Andrade came out with Big Show later on in the night, but he actually didn't. Renee quoted Bray to start. We missed Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro having a contract signing. I didn't know. Monty, did you see any of this? Because we didn't have a fucking clue, you know?
Yeah, I seen it. How did you guys miss it? Was it because of like a lot of people missed? I know somebody who missed the entire 0 hour because of the times or whatever. They got confused.
Yeah, they said getting there by 5. So 5 o'clock came round, and that is when the MJF Adam Cole match was. But this is half hour before, I guess, because we saw the shenanigans after, but we just didn't know we had Miro and Hobbs, you know?
Yeah, I got a chance to watch it on YouTube and see what it was all about. It was the worst security job ever, as I thought they were there to stop a confrontation to get from getting violent, and they stood there and watched them get violent. So yeah, but no, it was interesting enough, I guess. You know, building up to the next week's show. So yeah, it was passable, and it was always good to see Miro. I guess he just wanted to be a part of the show.
Well, he had stuff to do later, I guess. But they then played All In Countdown. We arrived with Tony Schiavone in the ring, and then Jeff Jarrett came out. That's JEWFJARRET. He insulted the London crowd. He stated the American wrestlers and promoters paved the way for the show, and he claimed the American fans were better than the British fans. What do you reckon, Monty?
I mean, I can't necessarily disagree. No, I'm just saying. USA.
All of a sudden, Paul White, Anthony Gogo, Grado came out. The trio took the fight to Jarrett in the stable, and Grado smashed Double J with guitar, much to the crowd's delight. So again, we had those shenanigans. I mean, we talked about being. What did it look like on TV, Monty? Because obviously, with a stadium that big, you know, we're not going to see. Obviously, you're going to see all the TV production as well. Did it look as great as it could have done?
Oh, you mean this segment or just like Wembley? Because Wembley,
the visual, the setup and everything.
Okay, Wembley looked beautiful, and the set was nice. You got, I mean, honestly, just the fact it looked. I know Jericho later, and I know we'll talk about the exact numbers, but Jericho talked, on his promo after this was like, 81,000, it's a shoot. No, we could tell. Like it looked filled to capacity. Like it just looked like an amazing environment to be a part of. Again, the only thing you can even compare it to, of course, is 92 SummerSlam or any stadium WrestleMania, and it's just, man, it just looked incredible. The only thing I will say is that, and maybe if you guys, any of you ever got a chance to rewatch, the production crew and the sound, and sometimes, oh man, it's a match in here that, oh my goodness, I don't know, you guys didn't see everything, but somehow even we didn't get a chance to see everything once we get to Stadium Stampede. Because that's just the production crew. AEW sometimes still have a lot to clean up on that side when it comes to this, but it still looks beautiful. The set, all of that, and you guys, the way it looked, I just love the feel of an outside stadium. And it was daytime at this point, but as the show got later, it's a one of a kind type of viewing experience once you really get a chance to look at everything and take it into take everything into account. But AEW definitely has to clean up some of their production miscues and some of the sound issues that they still seem to persist for some reason in some of their bigger events.
Yeah, there's something that really annoyed me, and I'm going to get out of the way now, because you had the little thing over the ring, obviously protecting it from the rain and stuff, and it was just grey tarpaulin. And I'm thinking, how much would it have cost to have a AEW All In sign, just to either fence it off or across there to make it just look, I don't want to say pretty, but more aesthetically pleasing, so to speak, I know a lot of people were saying about like the seats, we can see red seats there, so it's not sold out, and it's 90,000 seater stadium, so that means there's 90,000 seats.
Like, relax.
So if it means there's 10, 15, 20,000 people, on the pitch, there still would be 20,000 seats free. This is the things people understand.
Wembley's huge, man.
I'm going to nick your question as well, Monty. Gina, what was it like being part of history? Did it sink in at that point when we were there before the show, or was it a couple of days later, to actually be at Wembley and to be a part of this,
So, to be honest, it still feels surreal now to imagine myself as being there and like having like rewatched sort of it as a live show, sort of online or yeah, getting to rewatch it back. It just makes you realize like I was actually there. It's still insane, but again, I think it was just great to actually experience a wrestling event in a different capacity other than watching it online, or on a screen. You're like there in person. So for me, yeah, I think it was worth it, and it's really nice to know that you were a part of that.
Yeah, and it's really weird as well, like talk about this weekend. It is a year ago this weekend that we were at the Clash. So it's the first time we kind of met as the three and been to a show. And Jaxie, like I said, the Clash was crazy. And obviously we had the New Japan. But with Wembley, it was, I mean, how did you feel being there? Because it was like Monty is saying, it is historic, like there's only a few firsts, and we were there for the first one ever.
Yeah, exactly. That was such a big moment. Not only that, but like it was historic in terms of, for me personally, within the space of 365 days, I could say that us as a group, sadly, I really wish I could have included Monty with this, but us as a group really got to see WWE, New Japan, and AEW. And this is like, 4 years since we actually met online as Twitter, and sort of just started this sort of what I thought was going to be a one-off, like sort of guest appearance on your podcast, which has turned into sort of a long-standing run. None of this would have been possible without the WNR podcast, without yourself. This meant a lot to me. This meant a lot to actually experience this with my sister that you also chose to bring on your own, accord, not even with any influence from myself. So this meant a lot to me. My sister and I got to go to our very first like wrestling event. It was a Raw event in Cardiff when we had just hit 18 years old. And I honestly there and then believe that this would be like the first and only ever time I would be seeing wrestling live. So to know, sort of like well over 10 years later, I'm doing this all again in the space of a year with my sister again, but with yourself as well included, and just enjoying what we really grew up loving. This was very emotional for me, in terms of just not just bucket list, but just things I never thought I was going to be able to do again. And you opened that opportunity for us, James. So thank you so much for that. And this experience was just absolutely incredible. Monty, I now know that feeling that you get when you're able to go and see it live. And I can appreciate it more. And I just solely wish that, in the upcoming years, either yourself will be able to come to the UK, or we as a group will actually come to the US and experience a group as an event as a team together. That would just really kind of tick that bucket list for me. Sorry to ramble on.
No, that's really, really lovely, and like Monty, like we are going to do it. Like I know we talk about the free, but and I'm going to be all over you. I'm going to be over like a rash boy. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be. I cannot wait until we can actually get that moment. But to be able to experience kind of what we have the past year as well, it's crazy. We will look back, where it will be months or years to come and think, fucking hell, that 365 days was so special. So talk about special, All In. Let's get into it then. The main card, or I say main card, 0 Hour, which was the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. Adam Cole and MJF versus Aussie Open. The match was solid, played up to the story heart of it. The kangaroo kick from Jeff drew an enormous pop, overshadowed by only the vaunted double clothesline that set up the finish. Your new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, Adam Cole and MJF. Post-match saw Cole stare intently at the AEW World title, not losing sight of his goal despite the elation of the title win he just experienced. So Monty, start us off then. What were your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I think the end result was fun overall, and it was solid. It wasn't anything special though. It was a fine match, and I guess what would you expect when you know that two of the guys here is going to also be in the main event? So I saw some people talking about the time, and my only beef with the time or how it worked out was just kind of how Aussie Open ended up looking in the end. Maybe again in my New Japan brain and just watching them beat one of the best teams in the world for a while now, to see them just kind of beaten pretty simply and easily in about 8 minutes. It's tough. It's not obviously, even though I understood the story and I got what they were trying to do, and again, you guys reacted greatly to everything that Max and Adam Cole were giving them. Kyle Fletcher sold a double clothesline like it was a V trigger or whatever. So like, yeah, they again, it wasn't anything special. It was fine, but again, coming into it and knowing they're going to be in the main event, you do have to understand that it wasn't going to be, a wrestling classic. But definitely, in my opinion, I'm going to state it, even though I understood the story, Ozzy Open deserves better. And also, the messaging of MJF and Adam Cole being good enough to take these belts, but not quite good enough to win the AEW tag titles is like, oh, okay. So it's like, again, of course, we all know Ring of Honor is secondary, but that just kind of hammers it home. If you ever thought Ring of Honor was on even playing field, it just kind of hammers it home. But hey, it's nothing wrong with it. I had no problem. Still good fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell the enormity of the moment painted on the face of Fletcher and Davis as they entered Wembley. Like you talk about, for us, it's impressive. For these talents who have worked maybe tiny halls, with maybe biggest crowd like 2,000 people to
5,000, 15,
to come out to 81,000 is pretty impressive. And the reaction MJF and Adam Cole got, especially MJF, throughout this whole kind of fucking night was just unbelievable. Gina, what did you think of this opening match? Because it really got the crowd. We really got into this, didn't we? I mean, we were cheering like the kangaroo kick and everything.
Yeah, it definitely, felt like that because it was the first match. Everyone was in that first match hype. Everyone was excited. So you could already feel it from the atmosphere. And that was just enough to set you off no matter who was in that first match. But the first match was great and it did what it needed to do in terms of like getting us all ready for the show. We knew it was going to be a long show, and just watching this first match gave me so much energy. I was ready to be, doing it for the next match and the next match to come. So it was just fun and exciting. And again, I don't even really know how to describe it, how it was to watch it there, because we were kind of flitting between looking on the actual stage to looking up at the big screen as well, trying to catch every part. There were like parts that maybe I didn't get to see that was as great until I rewatched it back. And then I was able to actually see, oh yeah, this part happened actually. Okay. And then I would look to the main screen and be able to catch something. So it was sometimes hit and miss, but I still enjoyed it, and the atmosphere just made it that much more enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it really, really did. I mean, Jackson, like I said, it was just a great way to start the show. What were your thoughts? I know a lot of people said stuff. And what's your score out of 5 to start us off?
This is for the tag match, yeah?
Yeah.
The Ring of Honor one. Again, for me, I am planning to rewatch this all. I haven't had the chance to kind of go back and rewatch it from like sort of a camera point of view. But just sort of like have similar sort of viewpoints from my sister and what you've said already. I kind of had a feeling that they were going to continue on maybe some like with it. We had to strategically think about like the outcome of this match because of what we were getting as the main event and sort of going forward and like sort of what repercussions this had. So this for me was like really important to try and get right. And I actually did go with MJF and Adam Cole because I do think like sort of with the outcome of what we'll get to for the main event, think certain things could escalate and continue on the story. I do kind of feel bad that it was Aussie Open that had to kind of take the pin for this, but I'm kind of, I like that they were the Ring of Honor champions. I think they're very underrated. and sort of coming back to sort of American TV, or even UK TV right now. I really wanted them to be able to show their stuff, and I feel like they did, like really well in showcasing how good they are as a tag team. It's just a shame they did end up having to lose the titles, but I feel like there is a lot more to come with this story between Adam Cole and MJF. They've done so well with the promotion, like leading up to both of these matches, and just kind of even the build up of characters, what they've done with MJF and Adam Cole. As you were saying, James, about MJF and kind of how reactive the crowd are to him right now. Like, this is like, why not milk it a little bit longer? Like, this is the outcome that we wanted. Like, no one really kind of saw this sort of like, semi face we're getting, and no one knows when the devil could appear. So I'm really loving the build up of not knowing when this devil's going to show up. So I was really pleased with the match. Like, the match really had everyone hyped. Wembley was so loud, it really was.
And what would you score out of 5?
I think everyone did really well. I'm going to give it a 4.25 out of 5.
4.25. Monty, what about you?
Yeah, 3.5.
And Gina?
Yeah, I gave it a 4.
Yeah, the discrepancy between kind of obviously like Monty, as you know, to be there watching it compared to kind of like on TV. So I gave it a 4 as well because I thought it was really, really good. And like I said, the crowd was really, really good as well. So predictions, we got the Prediction League, of course, 2023. After SummerSlam, WWE Prediction Leagues, Jaxie's on 1, James, Monty and Gina tied on 4. Bonus League, Jaxie, Gina on 11, I'm on 14, Monty in the lead with 15. AEW, what we're doing today, James, Gina and Jaxie on 2, Monty is on 3. James, Gina, Jaxie went MJF and Cole. Monty went for Aussie Open. So Monty's on 0, rest is on 1. And I've got to say, Monty, the other two might not say it, but I'm really glad because you've been on a roll recently, and that was a great start.
No, I'm glad. I am glad. Again, James, let's just remind everyone now before you air it, I am actually sucking in the WWE scoreboard right now. I need to redeem myself. So the fact that Monty went with Aussie Open, I am reveling in this. Please continue. I need to actually win something because right now I'm on a real losing streak, and that went from like nowhere when I was on a running streak before. So I need this comeuppance. Sorry, Monty, but if you have to take the fall, then I'm willing to kind of let that happen.
Only one way to go from the top.
Yeah, watch your back, man. Watch your
Yeah,
back.
well, I'm at the bottom, all right, Monty. I'm trying to claw my way out.
Well, we found, like I said, Jaxie, you have lost the last 5 events. Not that anybody's counting. We're not keeping count.
This is what I knew you were going to do. I knew you were going to drop that, which is why I already aired that. I knew I was at the bottom, so you didn't make me revel in it, okay? But you didn't need to name how many points I was down. That's really depressing.
At least I didn't name how many WWE events we've had this year. You see what I'm saying? I give one hand, take with the other.
Stop. Let's move on to the next match. Yeah. Let's go.
Well, no, after the match, camera spotted Mercedes Moné in the crowd, the first official link between the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks and AEW. Monty, was this a surprise? Because we were pretty shocked to see her, even though she's not fully fit because obviously she still was injured at this time. So what's the thinking behind it, do you reckon?
Yeah. Still have the brace on. It was a surprise maybe that they put the cameras on her when nothing specific has been ironed out. So that leads me to believe that the rumor. It leads me to believe that the rumors that her and Tony were talking about things before she got hurt, and maybe she was supposed to be a Forbidden Door like they said and all of that, because she's always been open. It's like you said, this is a worldwide tour for Mercedes. She wanted to wrestle everywhere. So I'm assuming we're definitely going to see her down the line in AEW. I just would not, with the state of the women's division in AEW, unless something major changes, I would not recommend that she exclusively signs. If I was her, I would come in, work like a lot of the other, not just people in Japan, but people who've come in, did a couple special things, worked a program or two, and maybe you still keep your freedom because we already see what can happen to you once you're exclusive to AEW's women's division and how it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle. You would imagine they wouldn't lose Mercedes in the shuffle, but I can say the same thing about a lot of the special talent that they picked up, even though no one is necessarily to the level of a Mercedes yet. So I don't know, but I think big things. I think she's gonna have some big moments in AEW in the future. I think she'll be able to continue to make her, expand her profile as being the greatest, or if not the greatest, one of the greatest women of all time in wrestling. So I think you have to go to AEW if you're Mercedes, if that's truly what you want to do.
Yeah, without a doubt. We move on. Go on.
Sorry, can I actually just sort of respond to what Monty's just said a little bit? Firstly, can I quickly say the minute the camera panned on Mercedes, which none of us in Wembley were expecting, oh my gosh, the sound was deafening. The level of support that Mercedes Moné has in the UK, firstly, I'm proud to say, is immense. But it was just deafening. No one expected to see her there, and I was super excited to know that we were in the same stadium as her. So that was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Mercedes, for turning up. Also, I did see this could have just been a random Twitter thread. I'm not sure that this person is affiliated with anyone, but they said that the reason that Mercedes could have possibly been there in person was to like she's friends with Saraya, and she wanted to support Saraya's sort of match. Sort of her first match being back in the UK and in Wembley. But yeah, again, like I didn't really see that Twitter person, a user, being an official source. So I don't know how true that is. But that could have been the reason that she was there in person. But the one thing I did want to kind of pick up on what Monty had just said is I actually think that even though I would love her to not be too exclusive to the point, I would love to see Mercedes on New Japan, possibly, other promotions as well, not WWE. Sorry, no. They had their chance now. But I actually think it would be really good if Tony could actually sign Mercedes. And the reason why I say that is right now, like we just kind of already discussed, that like locker room morale has been kind of like in and out, been a bit toxic here and there. There's not been that much guidance when it comes to sort of like both divisions, but primarily the women's division. I think that a signing like Mercedes would be the absolute correct move that Tony needs to make and actually get Mercedes. Like I think Mercedes could actually become locker room leader material for the women. Not only that, but her status there alone weekly would actually generate so much more TV time for women. I think not just her, but like I think that when we look back to like her continuous runs in NXT, even in WWE, Mercedes like really was a strong advocate for the women's revolution and how we got that first ever WWE's women's pay-per-view. And I believe that she really could actually direct so much leadership into the locker room. I think that she could be such a great peer to a lot of the women in the locker room, and also kind of like level things out to where we actually get a decent women's division that are given decent women's time. So I think it could be extremely beneficial to bring her on, full time, really, if that's what she's interested in. However, I still would love to see her in New Japan.
Like I said, Jaxie, I love how optimistic you are. We said the same thing about
that's what I'm thinking.
Joining.
Exactly.
Paige joined, we were going.
I can make that same argument about Saraya. Exactly.
I know.
Like she literally had the very first long women's match I ever seen with
Monty,
like Summer Rae way back in the day. Nothing changed. So
the only reason,
I'm just saying.
The only reason why I didn't think that of Saraya is because have you seen like sort of her match count this year? She's not really been prominent in matches. Her presence is there, and I completely understand that with like any rehabilitation she continuously goes through.
But who's booking her? Like that's.
But the mind state has to change. That's what I'm saying, right? Because even if you have Mercedes every week booking her right before the main event, and then just being in a forgettable feud, like if it's the same booking, then nothing changed.
But could you imagine, like, let's imagine Mercedes does get booked. Like, can you not imagine that Mercedes would take control of the women's division, and not only that, but actually kind of influence how much time like they're all getting? I actually think that someone like
Wrestlers
Tony.
being in control is a double-edged sword. I think Tony
No, I do get
might
you.
be
I do
learning
get you.
it.
It really is. It really is a double edge, because so this could really backfire and be like a complete 180 of what I'm actually thinking. But I do believe that Mercedes has a lot
I
of
hope you're right.
respect, and I do feel like possibly Tony is actually paying attention to how much people are not disrespecting the women's division, but disrespecting how the division has been run. And I truly believe that maybe if Tony is like fighting hard to try and get Mercedes signed, that is with the intention of being like, what am I doing wrong? Help me fix this division. Do
I
you know
was,
what
I
I
was
mean?
about to
But
say that has to
my
be the
hope.
pitch, because
That's my
showing her a
hope.
card where there's only one women's
Exactly.
match won't necessarily help.
Exactly. We've got to like continuously, because of that is you've just pointed out the right thing, like Monty. We are not getting the right amount of matches for women, but yeah, that is the positivity that I'm instilling in this hope of, if Tony is approaching her.
Manifest it.
Yeah, I'm manifesting the fact that like Tony is actually coming to Mercedes pitching like, what am I doing wrong with the women's division? Help me fix this. So
I hope
yeah,
you're right. I hope
can only
you're
hope.
right.
One can only hope. Yeah, this could bite me in the ass.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I hope you're right, man.
We'll move on to the FTW.
Very sorry for that.
That's fine. We haven't got a lot to talk about anyway. We've got Hook versus Jack Perry next, with Perry received a special entrance to be driven into the arena in a car. Perry suplexed Hook on the top of the limo, then hit an impressive rolling thunder on the hood. Real glass, cry me a river, Perry said in the camera. Of course, we didn't have a fucking clue what this was about. Monty had messaged us. And this is the thing, Monty, what's going on? So when did you hear it? Was it later on you first heard the news? It was
after. It was after the show. It was after the show.
Yeah. It wasn't during.
Yeah, it was not during the show. I saw a post, someone explaining what happened in the meeting between Punk, and Punk basically telling Jungle Boy, we're not using real glass. Take that stuff to Dynamite. Basically, I guess they took that as like a shot at Dynamite or whatever, or Jack took that personally. So here he goes with the real glass. I mean, which again, at the time, I'm just like you guys. Hell, as a matter of fact, I don't think when you guys understand, I doubt you knew he even said it. So
no, we didn't. I saw it time,
Yeah, we saw this again from you updating us. Again, another shout out to actually being like part of a podcast group where we actually have one person sort of like based in America, because you get all of this news before us and send us everything. So we got updated straight away.
We got lucky over here. It was a midday show, so we had the entire evening to just get into the mess that happened behind the scenes.
What time did it start for you then?
Let's see. I'm trying to. It was like 2 p.m. for us. Like I think 3 p.m. from where I was at. So yeah, I was home free. Yeah, it was awesome. Middle of the day.
Okay, cool.
I love London shows for that very reason. I really do. I want more shows over there.
That's great.
Again, when James actually said it was a 5 p.m. start, I was so pleased. I was like, oh, good. It's not like going to be like, us getting there at like 9 p.m.
Oh, yeah, it's not going to start like 1 o'clock in the morning. That would have been the worst thing ever. 1 till 5.
Bank holiday on the Monday, right?
That would be crazy. As for the Perry match with Hook, Perry bumped on the glass, trash can spots in the ring with Perry not going for coast to coast. Hook tapped him out with a red rum to win back his FTW title. Jaxie, what did you think of this matchup? Because it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, where we were sat, we got like a full view of like what they were doing with the car. So everything they were doing for the car, again, this for us was sort of like, this was the pre-show, right?
Yeah, still the pre-show.
Yeah. This was 0 hours. So for us, like this actually kind of already felt like it had already started for me. Like this did not feel like pre-show. Like seeing them just using the car, I think there was a moment where Hook opened the middle car door because it was like a uh, six door car, and he opened the middle one and threw Jungle Boy into it. And we could see it on the camera, but just being able to see that live, that was like kind of awesome. And then they were doing everything on top of the car as well, and going into the glass. I actually did sort of make a comment of, look at the breakage in that glass. That's got to be real, or something like that. And this was before that comment. We knew that comment was made by Jungle Boy. Again, still not knowing really the reason behind that comment either. But the whole atmosphere, it was just so lit right from 0 hour that like we were already ready for and kind of in the zone of it being all in. It was great.
Yeah, Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because the crowd was really, really into it, but again, it's 0 hour. So I mean, what were your thoughts?
Right. I want to also correct myself. It was noon. I said 2:00. I was.
Liar.
It was noon.
You liar.
Hey, I was on the night shift the night before. It was late. Hey, it is what it is. Don't worry about it.
Did you watch it 0 hour, like live from 0 hour? Did you watch it live?
I woke up right as the 0 hour was beginning. Believe it or not, I got lucky. So yeah, I got a good 2 hours, and then I watched it. Then I went back to sleep. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a chance to watch it, but I didn't get a chance to see everything at first because I was kind of hazy. So I was like, I'm gonna replay it, so it's fine. But yeah, it was noon when it actually kicked off. But the match itself here was pretty fun. Like you said, it delivered. The added stipulation gave it an extra element that made it kind of more than just a regular blow-off type of match. Jack Perry is definitely finding his footing as a bad guy. I didn't really. I'm not gonna say I didn't see that, because again, you never really know when you see a person portrayed just one way at the beginning of their career. But it's good to see that he does have some natural instincts when it comes to getting heat and all of that. And I thought Hook made a really strong comeback. Perry missed that moonsault, and basically, Hook had the red rum in there. So it was a nice match. I thought everyone delivered a good performance. Like I said, Perry was really good in my opinion, and it was a good way to end things. I think they should Hook getting the belt back and all of that makes him look great. And I think especially since Perry was just going to retire the belt anyway, it's a good way to just get rid of this feud. Even though I thought it was a pretty successful one. Even though Hook, it's kind of funny when I think about Hook was gone for most of it. Hook didn't even, he lost the match and just disappeared. So it's kind of funny feud the more I think about it. But it ended up being really good. So 3 3/4 for me.
3 3/4. Gina, what about you?
Yeah, I thought the match was good. Again, just like both Monty and Jaxie said, the fact that Jack Perry was able to establish more of his character, his heel character here, it worked for me. And like I said, every time I see him, it's kind of working more and more. So I enjoyed the match. And again, because we did have a good viewpoint of the entrance area, I felt like it was a good start because we got a great view of the windscreen smash, So I was already excited because of that for the rest of the match. I'm glad that Hook won. I actually was expecting, I didn't go with him, but I was expecting Jack Perry to win. So I am quite shocked with Hook winning it, and I'm glad he did because I went with him. But yeah, in the end, it was still a great match. I actually just gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4. Jaxie, did I ask you out of 5? Sorry, I can't remember if I did.
Yeah, I think she said she gave it a 4.
Right, I gave that a 4 as well. Predictions? Well, we all good. Hook won, apart from and everybody went for Hook apart from me, which does make me a bell end. And again, I hate losing predictions, especially when it's like the kickoff. You go like, oh god, it's gonna be a long night. So at the moment, anyway, Monty, James are on 1, Jaxie, Gina on 2. On commentary, Taz left Excalibur and JR, who himself joined for the Hook match, and Nigel joined them as well. So great for him to call the action. The main show started with the Real World Championship, CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. I mean, the main thing I think from this, and I would be fair to say, would be the entrances for both were like main event level, Monty. You know, I don't know how it came across. It didn't sound as loud, but the crowd was so into it as both men came out. Punk did wear a ring jacket similar to the one he won in Ring of Honor against Samoa Joe in the original trilogy. And Punk overcame a focused assault on the hands of Joe, that included him being slammed headfirst into the commentary table and left him busted open. Joe appeared to be the better man, counting everything his opponent threw at him. That was until Punk pulled out a rare Pepsi plunge to score the pinfall victory. So, Gina, what do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like you said, the entrances were so good. And Joe is just a star. Joe dominated this match, to be honest. I don't want to say that my views on it are biased. It's not that I dislike Punk, but I'm not like the biggest fan of his. I wouldn't boo him, but I'm just also like meh about him. I think he's a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, but just everything in the controversy around him, I'm just like, he's not my favorite. So going into this, Joe was my favorite, but just hearing the rest of the crowd pump him up for that, it was just great. I mean, I think there were a couple of times that Joe was on the outside of the ring and like he was, you know, just reacting with the crowd, and he was dancing and doing little jogs and then, you know, going and hitting the biggest like hit on Punk. And it was hilarious because every time Punk got hit, like the crowd were cheering it. So it was just, again, I don't know how it sounded to those who were watching it on screen, but in the crowd it was just so loud. So I'm glad that the match went the way it did. I'm disappointed with the ending because, to be honest, I feel like Joe dominated that entire match and probably deserved the win. But that's just my viewpoint. I'm not saying that CM Punk wasn't doing well in the match. He was, but he just didn't dominate, and Joe looked like he should have just got that win easily. So that's what shocks me the most.
Yeah, I thought it's surprising now as well. I mean, Jaxie, this is a weird thing that we didn't know at the time, but all three of us watched CM Punk's possibly his last ever wrestling match. You know, definitely to now, last
wow.
AEW one, you know.
Yeah. I mean, for the moment, because right now I have actually already thought to myself with the news that has come out recently, like, well, what other promotion could he go to? That's the question that I'm thinking in my mind at the moment. So it could potentially have been his last ever wrestling match. We don't know, though, you know, touch wood, that's not the case, but we don't know. I have to agree with a lot of what my sister has said about the match, really. I felt like Joe really dominated it from what I could see. I really do want to rewatch this match again. And, you know, from a camera point of view, so I could see it more up close and actually see kind of a lot of it. But Joe was so interactive with the crowd. I could hear a lot of the crowd getting so hyped from him. So, like, it's really hard because of, like, I wasn't on either side. Like, I'm, you know, I don't agree with a lot of, like, what has been, like, has come out about what Punk has been like backstage and stuff. So, I don't agree with him, but I also do still respect him as of what he's done in the ring and stuff. And I know of his, you know, a few long-standing feud with Joe. So ultimately, I was so excited by this match, and this match hit hard, but Joe ultimately dominated. So I was a little bit shocked. Like, I'm glad the outcome was CM Punk because he was my choice, but again, shocked by the outcome considering how dominant Joe was throughout this whole match. And again, just to think that this was Punk's last match is a little bit surreal.
Yeah, it is, you know, and Punk with tributes to Funk during this as well. It was a good live, as I think, rewatching. And Monty, again, it's weird to think about Punk's last match, but I think Punk and Joe have had so many like classic encounters. To think that their last one is at Wembley in front of fans, I wouldn't have thought they would have thought that when they had their first one. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little bit
right,
how
exactly.
wrestling works.
Yeah, man, it's funny. Like, look how far they've come together. Whether no matter the story behind it, just focusing on the match, because I could talk at length forever about everything. By the way, I will say this now since I am talking about the match. Shout out to him to do what he did and then go out and do this like nothing happened. So I gotta give him
So
props
good.
there
Yeah.
for actually,
Yeah.
yes, exactly,
I'm
to do
actually
that and
intrigued to
then
watch and actually just kind of see like Punk's entrance up close and just kind of see how like calm and collected he kind of looks during his entrance, because just like
yeah, no, you really couldn't tell.
everything like kind of happened just immediately before either of them were coming out, right? So I'm
Yeah.
actually interested in seeing kind of what he looks like in his entrance up close.
Yeah, man, he got it. He got his stuff together, at least seemingly to me. But like you said, like I said, this, like you said, to think about this as being his last match, and think about, like you said, coming from Ring of Honor in the early days, and just what Ring of Honor was in their era, and just everything that Punk has been through, for it to end up there. If this is the last time he ever decides to put on some wrestling boots, I think it's a lot better than the Royal Rumble being half concussed or whatever he had going on before he left WWE for the 8-7 years or whatever, and walking out on that. So it's amazing when you think about just how far he's come, and like to be there at Wembley in that situation, working with someone he has long-standing chemistry with. I thought it was a very fun match. It was also one of my favorite matches of the night. It was my favorite match of the night for a while, honestly, because just again, even though it was a simple match, it hit a lot of the greatest hits in their feud. He even, like you said, with the Terry Funk tribute, I thought was tasteful. Then he, of course, doing the three moves of the 5 moves of doom from John Cena, and going right into a great heat building Hogan leg drop. Like, again, he's great. And then you have, like you said, what Joe did to him throughout the match, being as cool as Joe is, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I was in cloud nine with this match, even though it was a simpler match. And I also want to say, I know you talked about sitting next to Meltzer or whatever when you guys were eating earlier, whatever. Meltzer is an idiot, because there's no way that this match was one of the worst matches of the night to me. From his point of view, this is one of the worst matches, and I
Yeah.
just disagree completely. This was very good from both guys, no matter what you think about Punk.
Well, what do you
Monty, again, I do want to bring that up and just say, again, this is why I controlled myself and chose not to approach him, because I knew we were going to have certain disagreements already. And I saw his tweet about this match and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't approach him, because I feel like I'm not sure how I would have handled myself if we actually had a conversation. I I think
Right.
I think some of his comments are like just distasteful, and I think, even though he has his own opinion, I think he truly believes he's right. And I don't think that, what's annoying about him is that, like, you can't really, like, converse with him even via Twitter and, like, feel like he's actually listening to you, because what he said goes and what he feels is right, And that to me was distasteful, and I agree with you on that.
Right, so scores Monty out of 5. Go on.
No, I gave it 4.25. I was really into it. Like I said, I wouldn't say it was like I said, too confusing or anything. It was a pretty simple match, but it was very good. It's like pro wrestling at its finest.
Gina, what about you?
I gave this one a 4.25. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Jaxie.
Yeah, I gave this a 4.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.25. It's weird to think after every match WWE has, they kind of change the canvas to keep it fresh. So after CM Punk bled all over the AEW one, you just had kind of 3 guys come out with sponges. It's not the same, really. Just
Wow.
certain things, But predictions, we all went Punk, so it means the girls are on 3 and Team John T is on 2. We then had the Golden Elite versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konzuki Takeshita. Mega, Page, and Ibushi may have a rich history as tag partners, but it was Takeshi who earned the win alongside the Bullet Club. He took advantage of May because he fired off V-triggers to White and Robinson, sneaking in at the last moment, score a cheap roll-up win over the Cleaner. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
shocking, definitely a shocking result for me. And especially with all things considered, it kind of surprised me because I just kind of figured the Elite, especially in this match, the Bucks was a toss up more for me. But this match, I was like, oh no, it's definitely gonna go the way you thought. But it was, still a smooth match. It was, the second half, in my opinion, was a lot better than the first. And the Golden Lovers, doing what they kind of do best. And then you kind of got like someone with Jay White and Juice for that matter, in this situation too. People who they fought at Wrestle Kingdom in the past. So you can still kind of see some of their chemistry. Someone like me who know a lot, who's familiar with these guys. Takeshita, but the finish to me is where it kind of just fell flat. I thought it was a solid match. It did have some good moments, but it also was, again, just something was kind of off. And I think the finish being so abrupt and being a roll up on one of the biggest events, if not the biggest event, we just said the biggest event ever. I just kind of thought I was really, really disappointed in the way that kind of played out. But I don't think it was a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. Takeshita getting the victory, obviously, is setting up something in the future with him and Omega, and it's also a big moment for Takeshita, so I have no problem with that part of it. It's just the whole entire execution of it and winning the way it was done and all of that. And I just want to say, all the people who said that Jay White was going to be misused and done, looking bad in AEW. I'm sorry, guys. They protected Jay White incredibly, and I thought this match was solid overall.
The heat coming off Jackson G, Jay White coming out. I mean, I think Jay White looks like a main event, but
Oh my god, yeah. Oh wow, yeah. I actually just remember now, like literally the camera zoomed in on the abs and I wasn't even looking at like the real life walking out. I was just zoned in on the camera. Jesus Christ, Jay White is in such great shape. Like you have to commend his physique. Oh my god. Like he just looks great. But those abs, yeah. I had to control myself. I'm so
Married
sorry.
man, guys. Married man.
Yeah. No, so, Monty, I feel so sorry for James because James was just kind of like
just there, uncomfortable.
So Monty, we kept playing musical chairs all night. So like between different matches, we were like, oh, let's swap so that me and G can be sat next to each other during certain matches, and James could be sat in the middle as well. So we were kind of like, chopping and changing. But I felt sorry because I'm pretty sure James was in the middle at this point. And all he was hearing was just me and Gina like, oh, that little girl should not have heard what she heard.
Well, I kept wondering why the seats were wet, but they were telling me that was the beer being spilt. So I didn't.
That was actually there.
Okay, all right.
That was actually there. I'm not gonna lie. That was
Juice's hair. Who wants to take Juice Robinson's hair as well?
I'll let my sis take that one. No, I pass. I mean, does Juice not have any product? Does he not have any products? I mean, Monty, from a camera point of view, because again, I haven't seen this match up close, but from like what we could see on the sort of teleporter as well, it looks so dry. Like, has he got no product to play with, or does he like? I'm not really sure whether or not that's an actual look or if he can't be bothered. It looks like he could go do with like just having like a nice deep steam at the hairdressers or something. What's going on?
He's always been a wild man. Is the only explanation I kind of got for you. I wasn't paying close attention to his hair. Though.
No, I was rock hard. So
we was rock hard.
Yeah. I was rock hard all the way.
Juice's hair. His hair is like mine when I've dried it out and then I haven't put any product in it or something. So yeah, it was hilarious and also frightening.
And also Takeshita's theme as well was something that wasn't well liked. With Don Callis coming out. That wasn't well received. I thought Hangman should have come out on a horse. You know what I mean? Like, it's Wembley. It's massive. Get him on a horse and have him ride to the ring.
We have plenty of horses we could have lent Hangman. I happily would have sourced one for him if they asked me. Like, seriously,
I don't think that's much to ask for. But if we're getting Jungle Boy coming out in like what's considered like sort of a small limousine with a 6-door car and stuff, why couldn't we get Hangman on a horse? They're all around Buckingham. We could have definitely borrowed one.
Great to have fireworks in the stadium as well. And Kenny Omega's entry, he got a mega ovation. Like it was MJF. Maybe not as big as MJF, but like probably the second biggest, maybe third biggest of the night, as it was. So scores out of 5 then for that matchup. Monty, start us off then. Elite versus Team Takeshita, the Bullet Club.
This is another one I'll give like 4 stars. I thought it was still a good match, even if I didn't agree with the execution of the finish, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Gina, what about you out of 5?
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 4.
Yeah. Jaxie?
I also gave it a 4.
Yes, and I gave it a 4 as well. Predictions, girls went Bullet Club. John T went for the Elite, so the girls take a 4-2 lead at this moment in time.
Wait, serious? Wait, did you, James, you actually went the Elite?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm rubbing this. We both just got one up on you, Beth.
Well, this is why I didn't understand you took me celebrating the other match so well, even though I lost overall. But hey, we'll get on to that.
Wait,
actually,
I didn't.
Before.
Yeah, James,
So.
I wasn't as dramatic as you were with the way that I celebrated the outcome of that match. Like, it was just a standard celebration. You went over the top.
Oh, come on. Look again.
You were dramatic, James.
Monty, if you were there for the clash when my well collapsed and McIntyre and those two were going, ew, fucking wanker, and all that. Like I took that on the chin, all right?
Hey,
so
listen, I never called you a wanker.
You were both laughing. You were laughing and dancing.
Yeah.
I never.
That was all it was at that time, okay?
The goal is to always be right, because when you're right, it doesn't matter what anyone says. As soon as you're wrong, James, you're in trouble, man.
Well, so we moved on to the tag team titles, FTR versus Young Bucks. Matt Jackson superkicked Harwood off the apron, threatened a hot tag. Harwood stacked Nick Jackson low to the finish of Bulldog versus Brett at Wembley. A great spot and an even better falls finish. Wheeler ate it on a 450 splash attempt, a callback to Full Gear 2020. The two teams threw everything they had, putting each other down with their own finishers. When it did not work, the Bucks went back to the old faithful Meltzer driver, but momentary hesitation based on exhaustion allowed an alert Harwood to put Cash in position to counter into the Shat Machine to win and successfully defend the AEW Tag Team titles. So, Jackson, what did you think of this matchup?
Again, live, it looked incredible. I actually didn't spend much time looking at the sort of TV cameras. I was actually watching it live, like kind of from our direction. We could see all the high moves, and I think there was something that you had brought up during the Money in the Bank review that we had done, and you had obviously been there live. I'm pretty sure you had said something about, like we underestimate like kind of like the camera view of like high flying moves. And it's so true. Even from where we were sat, there were some high moves that the Young Bucks and FTR were both doing that just looked absolutely incredible live. You just had to appreciate the fact that we saw this live. These two, I think these two could have gotten in Wembley the fight forever chance. I think that could have, if they had more time, they probably would have gotten like fight forever. It was incredible to see both of them live. I enjoyed this so much. I really want to see like more of the Young Bucks live. They're so incredible to watch. They're so fast, like really, really fast. Like when you're watching it live in the ring, like everything is happening so fast. You just wonder how they're all keeping up.
Yeah, this is the thing as well, especially with being able to meet FTR last year at the New Japan show. And have that kind of connection as well, and having them put on such a kind of great match. But I mean, he might be biased. I don't know. Monty, did it stack up as well as it did at the state? Because I mean, we're loving every moment. It seems like the two teams were putting a match of the year candidate. Are we right?
In my opinion, no, you're not right. But it's not because you're wrong.
Let me
that
know,
they
guys,
weren't
if I get anything right
doing
all
great.
night.
But this is just my opinion. If you guys outnumber me, so technically you would be right.
I thought.
But from my point of view, and maybe it's because of television, maybe it's because I've watched many times. I watched on there every encounter they've had, but I've watched just the Bucks plenty of times at this point. I think it was really, really good. It pales in comparison to what they did the last time they fought their second match, not the first one, but the second time they fought, in my opinion. But I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they kind of went to the well a little bit too much with the false finishes towards the end. After a while, now you guys didn't seem exhausted, but as a viewer sitting at home, you're just like, well, I thought it was like 3 specific times before they actually wrapped it up that I thought they were going to go ahead and wrap it up. And they didn't. They kept it going. And that's fine. And, again, if you were into it and you were there as a viewer and they kept you guys into it, then that was great. But to me, they didn't really have me as invested as I would usually be. Sometimes it was a little clunky to me, but I didn't think it was bad at all. Like, I thought it was really, really good. It's just by their standards, it was, in my opinion, not as good as maybe you would expect when and the way they tried to build it up as like the biggest and greatest tag team match ever, for the biggest show ever. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I don't think, again, that doesn't make it bad. It wasn't bad by any estimation, but was it 5 stars, perfection, beautiful tag team wrestling that you would expect from these two teams? I think I've seen better.
Yeah, I thought it was shit as well. Gina, what were your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on the Bucks and FTR?
I definitely get where Monty is coming from. Again, I think what is this, the third fall out of like three matches that we've seen the Young Bucks and FTR have on AEW now. So again, 2 of them I've seen, televised, whereas this one I got to see in person. It was incredible to watch in person. So I agree with my sister in that sense. Like, the high flying moves were just as expected, and I'm glad that we had as many, because that's what you want to see when you go to a live event. You don't want to see them, cut down on those high flying moves. You want to see everything that you've seen do on the television so many times. So it was great to see that. I don't think it's like the best that I've seen both of these teams do in terms of going at it. But regardless, I still enjoyed the match itself. So it was incredible for me.
Yeah, like I said, really, really good stuff. Rewatching it, seeing the Bucks with an ode to Freddie Mercury with the outfits. Of course, Karina Freddie Mercury playing Wembley. The ticker tape, Monty, you know what I'm like. It stuck around all fucking night. Like we had strings of it laying around in event.
Yeah, it got stuck in the thing I heard or whatever. It never went away. The streamers.
Just this blue little stream. Bray, Brody, and Jay tribute with FTR with British flag on them as well. The Bucks refused the post-match handshake to acknowledge the victors. So we'll go around to get points for that. So Jaxie, out of 5, starts off. What would you give Bucks and FTR?
I'm giving it a 4.25 because I really enjoyed it. Again, I really do need to watch this up close because obviously I feel like mine is going to have like a bit more of a different outlook because I haven't rewatched it.
Yeah, no, I give it a 4.5. So, I mean, Monty, what about you?
Yeah, like I said, 4.25 for me. Really, really good. But again, not probably up to maybe that's my own hype or whatever, or just like I said, I just think they kind of overdid it a little too much. But yeah, 4.25.
And Gina?
I gave it a 4.5.
No, really, really good stuff. Predictions, Monty went for the Bucks. The rest went for FTR. So it means the girls on 5, I'm on 3, Monty's on 2. Monty, during the show, because we were trying to work out the predictions, and I've got Jaxie, who knew she was doing well, going, what about Monty? What about Monty? And I was like, I think Monty's gone, but I'm not 100% sure. So as soon as you went Bucks in this, I was like, You know, I think
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
I got hella competitive at this point because I knew I was just kind of like winning at this point, and I was like, wait, hold on, what level am I at? Like, what score level am I at? And James was like, I don't know, I'm just enjoying myself. And I was like, find out.
Let me watch the show.
So
I don't want to do points.
yeah.
I'm
No,
so
I knew I lost, and I think the biggest way I knew I lost was basically my mind state. I was like, how many AW shows have I won? I was like, I won 3. How the hell did that happen? I don't even watch half the time or the way I should. So once I started
yeah.
to think about how good I've done in the past, I knew I had lost this one.
We get Tony replacing JR for Stadium Stampede, which is on Cassidy, Trent Barretta, Chuck Taylor, Eddie Kingston, Penta versus John Moxley, Claudio, Willie Yuta, Santana, and Ortiz. Now, Monty, again, watching this on TV, we talked about earlier, but if not bound to know what's going on. Watching it live, we didn't have a fucking clue what was going on half the time. We're trying to work out who was at ringside. But it was incredible. And I don't know why it was so enjoyable. The Moxley, I don't think I've ever heard a reaction or reacted to something. Whereas Moxley, when he got the cooking skewers in his forehead and stumbling around as it come popping out, we actually couldn't believe what we were seeing. Santana powerbomb Penta through chairs. Moxley stabbed Cassidy in the forehead with fork. Sue showed up, and we weren't sure it was Sue, but what a reaction she got as well. And then Penta came out, and we didn't realise he'd gone. So then we go, why is Penta coming out? Did he not come out earlier? But this was Penta Oscura, of course, the darker version. Yeah, whatever. Kingston made his dramatic late match return with steel chair wrapped in barbed wire. He chapped Claudio. Of course, he hates Orange Cassidy, proved his toughness by wrapping his hand in glass, covered duct tape and rocking Claudio with an orange punch to score the win in the Stadium Stampede. So, Gina, start us off with the Stadium Stampede because, again, we didn't know what was going on, but it was fucking crazy.
I mean, yeah. So I feel like my review of this match won't sound positive, even though it's meant to be. But I felt a little. It was all over the place. I didn't know where I should be looking, and half the time I didn't really know what was going on until people were shouting out. So I kind of felt like a deer lost in headlights or something at this point. But I was enjoying the bits that I did get to catch and see. And once my sister and James was telling me what was happening, I was enjoying it. So I did like the messy feeling of it because I feel like it kind of not gave me Attitude Era vibes, but gave me that excitement when I was a kid and I was just watching the palaver that was taking place in the Attitude Era. So it kind of took me back to like feeling like that a little bit, just not knowing what's going on, but just knowing everyone's just loving it regardless.
It's like playing with your action figure or your wrestlers outside. When there's no rules, like they're jumping off like deck chairs and stuff like top of sheds. Like you just don't know what's going on.
And the power bombs that you've been given like from like the top of the wall that definitely should have killed your opponent, but obviously didn't. They kicked out. So definitely felt like that for sure. But I enjoyed it for what I did watch. I do need to rewatch this one back though to see the full match in its entirety.
Yeah, no, rewatching it is not as good as watching it live. I will admit that. Moxley did have a cool jacket, but one thing we noticed, Jaxie, was that with BCC's entrance, it nearly called a riot because security were not ready for it, were they? That's the one thing we noticed.
Yeah, they were not. What I saw was like, I just saw an excessive amount of crowd, like very much like, the ones standing sort of like towards the front, but near the back, like just running towards the entrance. And I was like, where's the security? I don't see any security waiting to like, put up a barrier, nothing. So, again, like my sister said, I need to rewatch this again because it was hard to keep track of everything. The one main thing I saw was like the sticks protruding out of Moxley's head, and I was just like, oh, I mean, right. First of all, right, this is gonna sound really funny, but first of all, I thought it was pasta, like spaghetti. Oh Obviously, I'm aware that it's clearly like skewer sticks or something, but seriously, um, I'm really hoping that Mox definitely got like a CT scan or something like that and just made sure that they're like all was okay brain wise, because I don't know how far those were in, but that looked incredibly terrifying up close. So I am looking forward to seeing this match up close, because the one thing I did do was see I saw Sue. I saw the white car and I just knew instantly that it was Sue. But it was just a lot. So I can appreciate, when they've had previous stadium stampede matches, like a lot of the audience haven't been aware of certain things going on. So I'm really going to appreciate watching this match back, because I really couldn't see certain move sets and stuff. It was really hard, and with no commentary either, it was hard to kind of know where to look, in which direction, anything.
Yeah, without a doubt. Monty, what would you score this out of 5, and what were your thoughts?
It's funny you mentioned with no commentary. I'm just gonna let you know they didn't know either. The camera work was that bad. The camera work was that bad. Like, oh my goodness.
God.
The camera cuts was just atrocious. You seen something, then you got Excalibur, poor Excalibur, just trying to explain something away that you don't see on the TV, and it's just every time they've done this so far in an arena with people, they've had this same problem. And I'm not saying the Stadium Stampede needs to be retired or only for empty arenas, but I'm just saying they've all kind of declined in quality to me from the original because of that. Because we had complete freedom in the Jacksonville football stadium, American football stadium that they had going on. So, but that's besides the point. This has anything really to do with that. This match benefits from the chaos, but it's also like it's Achilles heel in a sense. Like, you can be completely lost, but if you know that coming in, that is probably gonna be a big cluster. And that's basically what I was expecting, especially in Wembley. As big as Wembley was, but I knew they had 80,000 people in there plus. So it's like, no, this is going to be insane 9 times out of 10. It's like, I don't know how they're going to keep it under control. I'm surprised it ended up being as concise as it ended up being. I was very happy about that, but it did. I'm not going to act like it was all bad. I think, like, again, in this type of match, the chaos kinds of is a benefit, even though it's also a detriment in a way. But also the skewer spot, like you guys said, it's kind of like what we mentioned about blood and guts, James. If some people are into it, but I also saw a lot of people on Twitter or on X at the time while this was going on, just being absolutely repulsed and just turned off by it. So again, you get two different completely reactions a lot of times when you go that far with the stabbing and all that type of stuff. And my biggest thing, believe it or not, after everything I watched, the biggest takeaway that aggravated me the most, even though I still thought this was a lot of good fun, and just again, like you mentioned, Attitude Era, especially those hardcore matches back in the day, I agree. This is definitely in that same vein. But my biggest problem was that Eddie couldn't get a dominant. Eddie couldn't get the pin. That's the only thing I really didn't mind. Not that I mind Orange Cassidy doing it, because he's been on an all-time run. But I just really, really like it. Everything about the Blackpool Combat Club team was basically about Eddie, in my opinion. It didn't even really have much to do with the Best Friends. They were just there to fill out the team, in my opinion, even though I know they have problems with the Blackpool Combat Club too. But honestly, Eddie kind of usurped them in my mind. But hey, I have no problem with it. Everyone that contributed and did their job really well, so I have no problem with everything. And of course, Penta's awesome, so this was cool. But at the end of, I will say that all those faults that I highlighted could be why you could see someone saying this was horrible.
Yeah, I'm still gonna give it a 4 though. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
right, me too. Exactly. Everything I just said, I still give it around a 4. It's still good stuff.
Jaxie, what about you?
I'm going to give it a 4. Again, this is based off of how much I really could see. I'm kind of looking forward to rewatching this and seeing if I could see more. But again, with what Monty said, I'm not sure if I will actually see much more than that. But the one thing that I will say is I agree with Monty's point about Eddie. Yeah, it it's a little bit weird, because I know that OC is a good wrestler, but I didn't know whether or not he needed to be the one to pick up the pin. Like, so like I kind of still enjoyed the match, but I also kind of ultimately felt a little bit like disappointed because I thought that maybe there was going to be more repercussions coming from Eddie, like as a result of maybe picking up the pin. And if it wasn't him, I thought, like, I went with the Blackpool Combat Club to win, I think, on this one. And I think the reason why I thought that was I thought they would carry on like this real sort of animosity between Claudio and Eddie, and I thought Claudio would get the pin on Eddie. So, I'm happy that best friends and everyone won, but like I don't know if it really needed to be OC that picked up the win. You know?
Who are we going to score it?
I gave it a 4.
You gave it a 4, sorry. And Gina?
I gave it a 4 as well.
You gave it a 4 as well. Predictions, Monty went for Team Eddie. The rest went for the BCC, so it means the girls are on 5. John C is on 3. As we go for the AEW World Women's Championship, Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Saraya got the big hometown entrance to Queen's We Will Rock You. She was accompanied to the square circle by her family. If anything in wrestling is going to tell you that she's going to win, it's this. That entrance. I was like, thank fuck. Excalibur.
It was like insert that meme, James, of, and this is when Jaxie realized she fucked up. Like it was like a double duo twice in a row. At that moment, even before the match started, I knew I'd fucking lost another point.
Yeah, well, Excalibur put over Shida's previous reign as champion because it took place during the pandemic era. But the match really got started when Saraya's mother held Baker while Storm chopped her. And then the second blow knocked Mum out and resulted in a physical confrontation between the Outcast teammates. Monty, you won't believe this, but I actually called Ruby Soho to the ring. I don't know how I did this, but I said Ruby, and the next moment she's running down and trying to talk Storm out of damaging Saraya's neck. Storm rocked her with a forearm, so just went, no, I'm not having that, and fucked off. The match had a lot going on, of course. A lot of spots piled on top of each other. Saraya got the pin on Toni after spraying her. So your new AEW Women's Champions. Saraya celebrated with her family in a moment that was nice. But you have to wonder about the future of the women's division. So, Monty, what were your thoughts on this? Because it all went for shit for me and Gina during this.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think also what I noticed when Saraya's entrance music hit, and I knew I knew Tony had to go into the bank for that. I was like, first of all, but it's gonna be something else that happens. I think Jericho's gonna have something Queen or Eddie. I think he's gonna do something Freddie Mercury inspired also. And I was like, okay, there's more other British, legends who passed away. That I could think of, but it's fine. I'm not gonna worry about it. I guess Tony's big Queen fan. It's fine. Everyone knows
that
Queen.
Live Aid video to the crew, like for just on and on and on. They don't realise anybody else was actually there.
Yeah, it's like there's other people you could go to, but that's fine. Yeah. And also, I also was like, okay, that's why Mercedes' seats didn't look like the best seats if AEW covered them, because he had to pay for those rights to the Queen song. But the fact that that's what I'm thinking about in this match just shows you what this match was for me. I was disappointed, and it's not that not about a result. Obviously, you'll explain later, James. But it was because of just the fact that I just came away from it. I was like, if you're gonna do one women's match, then it better be given time, and it better be like a match that's memorable. And from what I've seen online, and just from what I took away from the match too, not that I'm as down on it as some people were, but this ended up being one of the worst matches of the night, and it's not even just in my opinion the fault of any people, in my opinion, because I don't mind the booking of it with the Outcast kind of and then doing it, like I said, doing it where she was, it makes sense, and with the family involvement, all that's fine, it makes sense, and I'm pretty sure Saraya will never forget this, no matter what marks on the internet say how good they say the match was. But I did kind of, when I look back and I realized, oh, this was barely even 9 minutes, and I'm just like, That's very disappointing that not only do you get this type of, you only get one women's match, but it can't even get 10 minutes of wrestling time for four of your best women on the roster. So again, it's just one of those things. We've beaten a dead horse at this point when it comes to Tony's booking of the women's division. But I must say though, I did come away with the match saying it was okay. I didn't have a problem with it. It was passable, but it was definitely disappointing in some ways. But the story and the creative way they decided to do this was fine with me, and I just was absolutely, as much as I wanted to be right, I was still kind of aggravated for Sheeta because it's just like they could, if you look at the result and what we got, why Tony just could not be the champion here and get pinned anyway. So that's the only thing. But it is what it is. I have no problem with the way everything played out, except the time. And then again, maybe they wouldn't have had to rush. Maybe some things would have been even better if they had a 15-minute, 20-minute cushion that they could settle themselves into. But, you know, it is what it is at this point with AEW's women's division. And congrats to Saraya, because, again, I know this will be something she'll never forget, because whether people like her or not, she gets unfairly criticized, in my opinion, especially as a human being. Like, people talk about her like she's just a garbage person or whatever. And when you think about what her story and what she's overcame, it's crazy to me how negative people still are about her, even though everything that she's been through is not every negative about her is not necessarily her fault. Some of it is, but not all of it. But anyway, like I said, congrats to Saraya, because coming back from injury where it was supposed to be over for you and being able to do that in your home country, that was kudos, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, but like you said, you made some excellent points there, you know, and it did feel a bit rushed. And Gina, I know my reaction to the result wasn't great, but the match itself, we could have done with more, couldn't we, you know?
Definitely. I was so disappointed coming out of the show. I actually did look up the wrestling time, because it didn't, again, when you're there in person, you don't really register how long the match actually goes on for. So where I came away from the match, well, I say enjoying it, not really, not with the result, because I wasn't expecting that result or wanting it. But regardless, when I saw the length of it, it just felt even more disappointing, because again, as Monty pointed out, it's like one women's match out of this huge card, and you even squeezed in a last minute match on the kickoff show, which you could have made another women's match, but instead you made a male match. And you just relegated them to under 10 minutes, like less than 10 minutes. You should have given them 20 minutes where each girl had like a 5-minute window to showcase they could be, why each four of them are like the four women pillars that they've decided to bring to Wembley and put in this one match on the show. So that's how it should have gone, really. So I was disappointed for the four women in the fact that they were told that they had to squeeze their match into just 8 minutes, which is really unfair. And again, like, I agree with you, Monty. I really do. I have nothing personal against any of the female wrestlers in this match, especially Saraya. I don't have anything personal against her, but I really didn't want her to get this win. If they were going to give her this win, they should have showcased her a lot more in matches over the past few weeks that have gone on. Yes, we've seen her in this little tournament to be able to get into this match, but like, I feel like we've seen Ruby and Tony still be in more matches than what Saraya has. If they had showcased her in more matches, even just against nomads, it doesn't have to be big matches, but if they just showcased her more matches, then I feel like the win was deserved. And I feel like if she was going to get that win, and because she pinned Tony, why not just leave the belt on Tony? Because if you wanted to give Shida the belt back because you wanted to give her some time on having it in front of a crowd, you really did her a disservice, because you only gave her you gave her such a short window. So yeah, I was really disappointed, but it's not because I dislike Saraya and I don't think she doesn't deserve to be champ. That's not it, and that's not the case. I'm happy for her, but I'm just disappointed because I didn't feel it was deserved at the time. I felt like she should have been showcased a lot more before this event to warrant having that win. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, this is the weird thing about it. We've been saying and talking that this could have been the main event. You know, like I know the MJF thing, the Adam Cole, but you know, when you think about a British woman or you know English woman winning a title at, you know, it was never going to happen. But I mean, it could be Jaxie, innit? I mean, is that what kind of? Do we need drastic changes now with the women's division to actually kind of, you know, 'cause like we talk about even with Mercedes Moné, there's only going to be space for one match on the card now, you know? Surely it should be more.
Yeah, completely agree with all that's been said. I don't want to. I know we've been going off on a tangent and talking a lot about each and every match, so I don't want to just dissect the match itself. But I have to agree with a lot of what was said. I feel like the win was bittersweet. I really wanted, like, you know, Saraya to have this moment. You know, like from what I could see, it looked like a great match showcasing all four women. There was slight disappointment for me. I think it's no secret to know that, like, I obviously was a very huge Sheila fan. I think the disappointment for me lied in the fact that I kind of believed that with so much emphasis being on the fact that, like, she'd carried the women's division throughout the COVID pandemic, I really felt like she was going to be given her moment with this second run. So I didn't really feel like the belt was going to change, even though there was a lot of significance to Saraya. But as my sister actually pointed out, Soraya's not been showcased much in as many matches as the likes of Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. So like my way of thinking really was that we were kind of giving Shida her moment and actually going to give her a lengthy, decent reign to actually help capitalize and build up the women's division, because I do believe that Shida was a very strong women's champion, even back in the COVID pandemic. And I believe that, you know, there would have been a lot more stability at having her retain here. So I can't help deny there was slight disappointment in her loss. I was very excited for Saraya, you know, from a person that is, you know, born from the UK. I'm very proud to see that she managed to pick up this win. As Monty said, I agree. Like, you know, knowing that we didn't think that this would be possible for Saraya at this moment in time. So I agree she deserves this. Do I think that there's been enough build up for this though? As my sister said, I agree. I don't think there's been enough build up for Saraya to have won that belt at that moment in time. So I think that's where my disappointment lies. This match really was just kind of up and down for me because, yeah, ultimately I was disappointed with, like, the lack of time we got. I kind of felt as soon as, like, it was over, like, wait, that was it? Like, this is the only women's match on this card and that was it? Like, I literally felt like this was going to be like a battle for the ages. So there was disappointment, definitely, right from even a viewer point of view, you know? So.
Right, so scores out of 5 then. Monty, what would you score this 5?
The moment definitely deserved, you know, it's like a 5-star moment for Saraya. But the match, I give it 3.5. Like I said, they tried their best with what they were given. You give them 9 minutes, I think they did good when you think about that.
Yeah, like I said, the stomp would be the best looking part of the match. Gina, what about you out of 5?
Yeah, same as Monty, 3.5.
Jaxie?
Yeah, I gave it a 3 3/4.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 3/4 as well. Predictions: girls went for Sheeda, the boys went for Saraya, so it means girls are on 5, Jonty's on 4. Coffin match: Sting and Darby Allin versus Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. Sting and Allin entered the arena with Seek and Destroy by Metallica. And anyone who doesn't know, Arn's a massive mark. This was Sting's last WWE theme. We went out for drinks. There was a few matches we decided to go out for
more money,
drinks or food, Monty, and we did this. We saw Sting's entrance and then decided maybe take a little break. So when I got back and I realised Sting was handcuffed, I had hands tied together, had no idea what the fuck was going on. But one thing you did learn is that first you don't succeed, throw yourself on top of Strickland and break the table anyway. And this might be Sting's last stadium show. We just don't know. So to see like a 62-year-old man throw himself around was pretty impressive. Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus made late appearances. Alan took a nasty bump after dropping on the coffin. Sting used a baseball bat to prevent the lid from closing, thus saving him and Alan from defeat. And they finally put Swerve in the coffin to win the match. Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? Because, again, great to see Sting, but after like the Stadium Stampede match, this just really didn't feel much, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that, like, I think it was, I went with you at this point to go and get drinks and food. So obviously came back at the same time as you. Like, this match, kind of like had its moments, like it was kind of like hype and stuff. And again, like you said, it kind of had a bit of similarities with Stadium Stampede. However, it felt a little bit more controlled. But, like, let me ask you this: is Sting cursed with, like, not being able to break tables? Because, like, I swear they just want to put that man through the ringer, and I'm constantly like praying that he's okay. I seriously, that was like the one moment that I kind of like felt like I was having heart palpitations, because, yeah, he had to do it twice again. Like, give him a break, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit tough, to kind of follow everything that we had seen at that point in time, like I said, but it is good to see Sting. I mean, how did it come across on TV, Monty? Because, again, this felt like it was in the wrong position.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. I have to give them props when you think about the fact that they had a Stadium Stampede before this. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they did a really good job of still being creative. Darby Allin does not care. I think I saw a recent quote that he's banged up from doing that stupid coffin drop on a coffin. I mean, I don't think anyone tells Darby to do some of the stuff he does. So if he says his back is messed up, I'm not surprised. But he's still working because he's insane. And Sting is also,
that he didn't, use a fake coffin and Punk choked him out for using a real one after this.
Right. Yeah, Sting is also insane. Swerve looked good here. Even though technically that the match wasn't over, his hair was out of the casket. They should have kept it going.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you. Yeah, you've been spending too much time with me.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it. That. But I must say too that Christian is just such a great. He's just awesome. He's such a great heel, and the way he's berating, I think Darby at one point. You guys didn't get a chance to see that or hear that, but to see it come across on camera, just watch Christian be a dick, is just awesome. He's just so good at it. It's unbelievable. Just how natural it all comes across for Christian. Yeah, man, I thought everyone, like I said, you have to kind of give them props. Tip the cat for still giving us an entertaining match, like you said, after all of that we had seen. We literally seen a guy get stabbed a couple matches earlier, and then they come out here and Darby tries to kill himself, and we get like you said, pretty much a 70-year-old man just fearless at this point. But it was fun. It was good fun. I will say that. Even if, again, some people may not even like this, but I think, honestly, if you think about everyone involved, you watched it, especially from my point of view, it was really, really cool. It was really a cool match. Even though I understand you guys getting up and taking a break because, man, you guys still had a lot left to watch, so you got to pace yourself. But, yeah, man, this was a good time.
Yeah, but it's even great seeing Swerve from, NXT days to actually see him in a match with Sting.
In a big arena like that,
show.
too.
And I think the three of us worked out the only reason they saved the match till then was so Sting didn't come out in the light, like it was nighttime at that point. So that was, they wanted Sting's entrance to kind of, feel a bit more special. But again, I mean, Gina, what were your match out of 5 and what were your thoughts?
I think at this point as well, my voice was kind of hurting from screaming a lot. So this was like the match that I kind of chilled myself out a bit and just, rested up. So the match was good, and I actually enjoyed seeing Sting live. I was really, really looking forward to seeing Sting. So I didn't mind the fact that we had to wait until like the night for his entrance to be special, because I'm glad I got to experience that. But yeah, like you guys said, I think it was tough to like follow after some of the matches that we did have. And I also think I was sulking a little bit still about the whole Shida and Saraya thing, you know? So for me, even though the match seems like it was good, I am gonna have to rewatch it back to see like how it looked on screen. Again, with me and my sister were just cringing at like the curse that Sting has with tables and the fact that they don't like to break on him for the first time. So apart from that, again, I got to see Sting live. So for me, that was just awesome. Again, the match didn't wow me too much. I kind of figured the outcome was coming. And I think I gave it a 3 3/4.
Yeah, that's exactly what I gave it as well. Actually, what would you score it out of 5?
I gave it a 3.5.
3.5. And Monty?
Yeah, I gave it a 4.
Gave it a 4. Predictions, we all went faces, so it means the girls on 6, John T's on 5. Then we had Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. And I tell you something, like, and Monty, from your words and being with the girls as well, is I didn't really pick, a lot of stuff. And I wanted to do kind of Judas with the entrance, and instead, I think we just sang. So again, I was just completely involved in it, and I could have done with another verse for Judas. I'm not going to lie. I was ready. I was trying to get everybody else around me going, yeah, I am not afraid. No, okay, by myself. It's fine. But he didn't. Again, I could have a Jericho sing with Judas a little bit longer. Fozzy a little bit longer with Judas before come out. Stick another couple of verses on it. We saw Jericho attacking Will at the Red Pro the night before. Ospreay entered to elevate, and a beautiful display of pyro from the roof of the stadium. There's one thing about stadium shows, Monty, they can present someone as a star, and Will looked the biggest star in the world at that point, didn't he,
Yeah, I really think that when I saw that, I was like, yeah, if I'm Tony Khan and it's contract time, I'm putting this on the video, and I'm like, this is what we're gonna do for you every time we get you at a big event, Ospreay. We're gonna make you look like this, and and I think like you're 100%. You look like the biggest star in the world. And the way people sing Judas, that was the way I was singing Elevate, because that's my favorite theme song from Ospreay. I like the little remix, the little heel remix that they play sometime, but I prefer this one. Elevate is an iconic song.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Will had the second biggest response of the night. The crowd became unglued, and Will also had written into his robe every UK promotion he'd ever worked for. Right. And it just shows you Will cares so much, about the British independent scene, and that's probably why he stuck around for so long as well, to help Red Pro out. Booking him with Callis was the wrong call because we didn't give a fuck. Like, you could have, I can't imagine any wrestler, bring out Christian teamed with Callis, teamed with Dominic Mysterio, we still would have cheered him, Jericho hit a wicked German suplex on the ring apron. Ospreay delivered a shooting star press from the top rope, who was draped over it. Jericho reversed a Stormbreaker into the walls of Jericho. Sammy Guevara came out and rocked Ospreay with a baseball bat to the head whilst he was trapped, but the aerial assassin fought back in the match and out the submission hole. There was a great near fall with Jericho hitting a low blow and the Judas effect. A defiant Jericho taunted Ospreay, who delivered a second Stormbreaker to score the win. After the match, Jericho shoved Guevara away and appeared to be frustrated. He's made his way up the ramp. But, I mean, the match itself was fun. I was one of those that's just sitting there. You go, we hit Stormbreaker, Hidden Blade, and a lot of people around us, obviously, like you said, you singing the theme, Monty, probably didn't know the moveset of Will. So, again, it's different. I say different, I'm learning. I'm slowly learning here. But as for the match, what a spectacle. Gina, Ospreay versus Jericho, what are your thoughts? Because this was brilliant.
It definitely was like a main event type match. Will, like you said, Will Ospreay just came across like the biggest star ever in this match. He did so well. They both brought the best out of each other in this match, and they made each other look so good. I agree with you. I would have loved Jericho to just stand up there with Fozzy and have sung with them for a bit longer. Like seeing as you're getting Fozzy to play at Wembley, may as well give us like the full thing. I would have absolutely loved it if he let us at least do 2 verses and 2 choruses, you know. And then during the second chorus, he walks down to the ring and gets ready for it. So it was definitely a great match, and it did re-wake me back up in terms of excitement and being hype and jumping up and down and screaming. And again, this is like our second time seeing Ospreay live. We saw him at the New Japan event in a tag match with Aussie Open, I think it was. But so it was great. We get to say that we've seen Will in both capacities live now, you know, in a tag match and in a singles match. And he just smashed it. Everything both him and Jericho did, there was like story behind it, or there was, you know, passion and power behind it, and you could just feel it from them in the ring. So it just made the atmosphere that much better to watch, you know.
Yeah, no, like I said, excellent stuff. Jaxie, what are your thoughts on this? Because obviously, like Gina said, we saw Will last year, and Ospreay just seems to have grown, and Jericho, to his credit, put in a great performance to keep up with Ospreay as well.
That was the thing I was going to comment on, was like sort of like commending Jericho, because Ospreay was sort of like, you know, showcasing what he can do and just like proving what a talent he is, you know. But you know, it must have took a lot of stamina for Jericho to keep up with Ospreay, because some of the moves he was delivering was, you know, pretty hard hitting. So fair play to him on that as well. I really did enjoy this match and agree with a lot of your comments. Would I have minded another like verse of Fozzy? No, I wouldn't have. But yeah, overall, just really enjoyed it. I wasn't disappointed by anything, even the outcome of this. So yeah.
Well, Monty, this is the thing about Will as well, is that his you know, slow the pace, but his intensity is spot on, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, if it's one thing Will Ospreay knows how to do, is he knows how to bring big match energy. And he's been in a lot of them, even if it's nowhere near to this scale. So for him to be in his home country, like you mentioned, this means the world to him. UK wrestling is something that he has always wanted to put on the map himself. And even though he's worked in New Japan, I think part of him going to New Japan initially was to expand the United Kingdom's wrestling reach all the way to Japan, and you know what I mean, and be there with a guy like a Zack Sabre Jr. and just get more of his guys over. He's still doing that with the United Empire. So you know, to do that, to be there at Wembley, you know how much it meant to him, and you can see it in this match. And like you guys said, Jericho came along for the ride. I don't think this was a Will Ospreay fast-paced match that some people may think it would have been. And I think that just showed people that Ospreay at this stage of his career can do whatever style you want him to do. You want him to go strong style Japan? He can. Can he tell a story? Of course he can. Can he be physical? Can he do a slower pace? He did it here and did a little bit of all of that in this one match. So I thought it was a great showcase for Will. I thought Jericho looked good as someone who's, you know, basically 50 plus 50 and still, you know, basically trying to tell everyone that I still belong on AEW television. I know a lot of people have been telling Jericho, and probably rightfully so, because we got way too much Jericho for a while, that a lot of people have been telling Jericho that he needs to take a back. And I think this match is him trying to, you know, buck back against that and show that, no, I'm doing really good and I still can go. And I can put a guy over like a Will Ospreay who benefited, in my opinion, from this. So I thought this was good all around. And I really thought this was a special moment for Ospreay. Kind of like with Saraya, a night that she'll never forget. This is definitely like a British Bulldog Wembley moment for Ospreay in his career. And I think, again, when we come back to around to these contracts, this is something that's gonna come up. If I'm Tony, I gave you a special moment in the biggest arena in your building, you know, and I got an extra, you know, million to try to offer you. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, this was a beautiful showcase.
Yeah, like I said, if it was for a championship, you know, maybe it'd been even a little bit more special. You know, we will win a title that matter. You know, I don't want to. If it was for like the fucking, I don't know, you know, Ring of Honor TV title, maybe not special, but you can imagine Will in that situation there. Like I said, really fun. And Chris Jericho has got an interesting record because he's going to miss out on All Out. So it means that it would be the first AEW pay-per-view he's never wrestled on. But there is one, I would say there is one member of the roster, I say, yeah, I don't want to give it away, but The Young Bucks are the only members of the roster now to appear in every single AEW pay-per-view. That is the record. I mean, so Jericho, like I said, has been featured heavily, and this might be one of the best that we've seen him in AEW. Out of 5, Monty, what would you give it?
I was really into this. I gave it 4, I think 4.5, yeah.
4.5. Jaxie?
Yeah, I've got a 4.25.
And Gina?
I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah. Predictions you went well. So Gail's on 7, Jonty's on 6. Nigel McGuinness announced 81,032. Well, actually, it was 81,035 because the three of us were there at Wembley. And then, yo, listen! It's the Acclaimed Trio Championship. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn versus House of Black. House of Black paid tribute to the late Bray Wyatt during their entrance, with Matthews carrying a lantern. Cast included a line about Prince Andrew, which kind of made us pop big as well. The Babyfaces delivered Shiver Me Timbers to Julia Hart to take her out of the equation. King Errantly leveled Black, setting up the Babyface comeback. Hart pulled referee Edwards out the ring, breaking up the count. Black took advantage, blasted Gunn with Black Mass, but the veteran kicked out. I don't think I've seen anybody kick out of that. 4. Brody King kicked out the Arrival and the mic drop at 1. But the Babyface fired off second version of each move and won the title. And the House of Black handed the titles over afterwards. And I got to say, Jackson Gene, it was a pleasure scissoring you during this match. I always wanted to know what it's going to be like scissoring people live. And there's no kind of experience quite like it, So really, really good stuff. What are your thoughts of the Acclaimed winning Trios Gold?
Who did you say?
Monty, so go on. What are your thoughts?
Okay, me. Okay, no, this was fine. I thought this wasn't really a match to me. I mean, it was, but it just felt like a moment. You guys really were into it, so that made it extra fun. I think you guys are just happy to see all of these guys when you think about, House of Black and being so popular. I love their tribute and just the way they look great. It's very weird seeing them in all white. But it was cool, at the same time. But and the Acclaim, great as always. I thought this worked out. It was fine. It wasn't anything. It wasn't the most memorable as far as like a match go. The most memorable moment to me was, like you mentioned, Billy Gunn kicking out a Black Mass. And who would have thought the first person you ever see survive that finisher would be Billy Gunn? Ain't that something? But, again, I have no problem with this. I thought everything ended up being fine. The title change, I thought it was about time. I thought if you're going to keep giving the Acclaim a shot, but they have to win at this point. So I thought that was the right move. And, yeah, man, it was pretty damn cool. That's what I'll say. It was a pretty cool situation, even if I felt like it was more of a moment than a real, match. But guess what? Even though I say that it didn't feel like a real match, it was longer than the women's match.
That's just depressing. Gina, what were your thoughts and what are you going to score this out of 5?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you guys have said. I was quite disappointed that House of Black lost, to be honest. I expected them to win. I just didn't understand with the whole daddy ass leaving and coming back. I just felt like he threw a strop and so they're like, okay, we'll give you the trios titles, come back, sort of thing. Like, even though I know that's not what happened and not the case, like that's how it feels in a way. So I was a little disappointed because I am a big House of Black fan, but it was still great to experience and watch them all live. I was excited to see all 6 of them live, regardless as to what match they were in. So I was glad to see this. And yeah, it was interesting to do the scissoring live. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it, but would I choose to do it again? No. It's just not my thing.
You weren't in the mood for it. Me and Jackson
Wow.
scissored so hard.
You must suck it.
So well. I had my tongue out and everything, I don't think Gina
Yeah,
knew how to do it properly. That was a issue.
You just weren't good enough, Jane.
That other guy that was sat next to me, that was just too much.
Yeah, that disgusted me. So So out of 5, I'm going to give it 3 3/4 out of 5. Gina, what did you score it?
3.5.
3.5. Jaxie?
I mean, I really enjoyed House of Black's entrance. Seeing them with sort of the lantern and sort of like a sort of respect to Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. It was really nice, you know, like, and sort of like got all the feels. Again, I kind of agree with my sister. I'm a huge fan of House of Black, so I can't deny I was disappointed with the outcome, but I knew this was going to happen. I don't agree that I feel like the Acclaimed should have won the trios belts from House of Black. I feel like they should have continued on their dominant run. But I know that it was a feel-good moment as well. So I won't take away from that. And I didn't mind the scissoring. Like, it was just such a fun moment. I do it live. You know, even when I'm watching wrestling at home, I'm watching it whilst on the phone or on a chat with my sister, so that we can enjoy it. So we're not really there in person to be able to do that. So it was a fun experience. But I was, again, like the women's match, a little bit disappointed with the outcome. I kind of really wanted House Black to stay dominant. But yeah, to hear that it went longer than the women's match is also still another sting, because again, I feel like the women deserve better. So yeah, I don't know what Tony needs to do, but he needs to do better for the women.
What do you score it, sorry?
I think I gave it a 4.
Give it a 4. And Monty?
Yeah, I give it 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. All right, predictions all went Acclaimed, apart from Gina. Now, Gina, this is saying, I don't know what we talk about. What is record? The last, 4 events you haven't won, where you've kind of thrown it away either in the main event or the match before. I say throw it away. There's only been 1 match difference. So it's crazy to think how close you actually are. Not like me and Monty, who fucked ourselves from the very beginning. You know, even with NXT, so close. So at the moment,
You know what?
Go on.
I knew it as well. I knew that the Acclaimed were going to win, but my stubborn ass just couldn't choose anybody else apart from House of Black. So I kind of had to take this one on the chin because I kind of knew this was going to come.
Well, we'll see what happens with Payback and All Out. But we're on the main event of All In now, the AEW World Championship. Adam Cole versus MJF. This had a big match feel from the get-go, thanks in part to the entrance from MJF. The Devil was fantastic here, and not worried about, sometimes when you've seen the wrestler before, what the second ovation is going to be like. There was nothing to be worried about there. The tag champs grabbed their new T-shirts from under the ring and put them on in a sign of unity. MJF could not bring himself to Tombstone Cole in the announce table. The challenger did not have the same hesitation. A T's draw was negated by MJF, declaring that it would go until there was a winner at Wembley. Of course, a nice call but cut to Cole asking for 5 minutes. Both guys tried their best to Guerrero, with MJF grabbing a steel chair and placed it round his head. Bryce Wingberg got back to his feet. Cole accidentally Panama. I don't know how you can accidentally Panama Sunrise someone, but Cole did with Remsburg. The Dynamite Diamond Ring, but MJF refused as Roderick Strong and Neck Brace appeared in low blow. We get Panama Sunrise and the Boom, and possibly the slowest referees count in history. Even though Hebner wasn't that slow, but MJF managed to kick out, with Roderick Strong causing a distraction. A small package roll-up got MJF the victory, and after a few tense moments, it appeared Cole may betray MJF. The friends hugged it out to close out the show, to ticker-tape fireworks and everything else in between. So, Jaxie, what were your thoughts on the main event of All In?
I mean, if I'm truly honest, like, it was really hard at this point to kind of keep shouting. I felt like my voice was really strained at this point. I was really intrigued by this match to see kind of like how the outcome was actually going to sort of like take place. or what like was going to happen, how it was going to sort of amount to. So there was a lot of ups and downs in this, but I must agree, like that ref count, like, because I was just like, why was it going so slow? It was like the slowest ref count I've ever seen. But yeah, like it was enjoyable because, even with, my choice of outcome, I'm feeling very much like 90% sure I was right in who I chose to win. There was still that aspect of, like, will the devil show up? Like, what's going to happen during this match? How will the outcome like happen? So I feel like, like there was just a lot of excellent storytelling from the fact that they opened All In with their tag match and winning the belts to the fact that they are ultimately choosing to go against one another right now for the ultimate belt. So there was so much excitement in this match. I think it was quite overwhelming.
Yeah, no, really, really. I mean, I wasn't a fan of maybe the story. I mean, Gina, this is something we spoke about there. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of the story, maybe like you were, and like kind of rolling up pin to M things was a little bit cheap in my eyes. But there's no doubt both men, and especially rewatching it, MJF put in like a lifetime performance. You know what I mean? He tried everything in his heart to get the crowd invested, and the crowd responded. MJF was like the hero here, wasn't he?
It was actually really difficult because it was really hard to determine who was actually the face and who was actually the heel here. When this first started out, you would initially believe that obviously MJF is going to be the heel and Adam Cole is going to be the face going into it. But it's like they were both faces, but they were also both heels in a way. It's hard because you were like cheering for one, but then you were still cheering for the other as well. So yeah, I definitely get it. I am a little bit disappointed with the ending, like you guys said. I think roll up pins are kind of like a cheap way out. And as a wrestler, someone said to me like, "Oh, you're gonna finish your match with a roll up pin." I'd be like, "No, I'm not." Like that would be the worst like ending for a match for me. So I would definitely not like that to be in my match, let alone a main event match. So that was quite disappointing, I would say, especially because, we had these guys on the very first match. So to have it end with them as well, you were kind of expecting something big and special, and roll up pin doesn't really scream that.
Well, you wouldn't really get that. And again, if this is AEW's WrestleMania, would you get that a main event of WrestleMania? Maybe certain times, but again, it just felt a bit, not of a cop-out, but like I said, very interesting way to end things with two guys hugging and trying to celebrate that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of felt bittersweet in the end.
Monty, what about you? What were your thoughts on this matchup?
First of all, I think you would hate Yano if you hate roll-ups. You would hate Toriano.
I just had to watch fucking 8 of his matches, didn't I? Well, fucking...
Right, you would hate Toriano because that's pretty much his finisher, a low blow and then a roll-up. But I kind of understand what you're saying. The only thing is, I think my whole thing was that I figured out that they're going for Brett Bulldog. That's the only way it makes sense. Is if you're trying to tell me you want to have a roll-up finish here because of what happened in the Bulldog Brett match. Even with the friends and the feuding type of thing, I guess was kind of similar to Brett
Jim
Bulldog. Even though it was
had run out
different.
with a net brace at SummerSlam, maybe.
Right, yeah, Neidhart had to come out there, right? Cracked out of his mind also, by the way. But besides that, no, it was fun. I had a great time with the match. Like you said, Max, this is an all-time performance. Even if he's not ever gonna officially turn babyface, this was that moment where it's like, no, he's the man. Whether face, heel, he keep being so nice. He's gonna have to stop calling himself the devil. But that's what I like. I like the fact that he's such a bad guy that even while he's being good for Max, everyone is still looking for the bad guy move and what's going to happen. And I was looking for it too. I honestly agree with you guys. You guys really hit on the point of like in your main event, in your biggest show ever, you expect something to happen. And for them to just kind of end up deciding that, nope, we're not going to pull the trigger. My end thing was like, I think Tony and them sold too many T-shirts of this for this tag team. I think he's like, no, we're making a shit ton of money right now with this team. with these better than you Bebe shirts. We're going to keep them together as long as possible because that's the only way you end up with this conclusion when you think about what the story was building. Because leading up to this, you didn't know if Adam was going to turn. You didn't know if Max was going to turn. So I just figured at the end of the day, someone is going to either attempt to completely turn or something. They teased the hell out of it, but it didn't happen. I enjoyed it, even if the story is kind of confusing. And like you guys said, I think, in my opinion, Max deserved all his flowers for what he was able to do here, especially as the number one guy in this particular confusing type of feud. Because honestly, I can't ever think I've ever seen a feud kind of go this way. But I think this also means that this is not over. Yeah, it's not over.
They're the closest thing to RK Bro, you know, and I know a lot of people have forgotten about RK Bro now.
Right.
This is what I was kind of thinking between the two. Right, so scores out of 5 then for the main event. Jaxie, start us off. What's your score for this?
Yeah, like I gave it like, you know, it was a decent match, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4.5. But like, I don't feel like it was like my favorite match of the night.
No, Gina.
Yeah, same. I gave it a 4.5. It was a good match, but it wasn't my match of the night.
Monty.
Yeah, 4.5 also, where I ended up.
4.5 all round. So predictions, we all went MGF. So final scores means James, Monty and Gina on 8. Jaxie wins on 9. So Jaxie gets the point. So the AEW League. The AEW Prediction League now, James and Gina on 2. Monty, Jaxie on 3. So congratulations, Jaxie, for your win today.
Yeah, I needed this point. You know, I'm sucking in WWE at the moment. So, you know, the least I could do is actually be on par with Monty within AEW. Hopefully, we'll see how the next few pay-per-views go. I already have succumbed to losing the WWE one, though.
Yeah, you definitely have. But no, in all honesty, we don't know. Time can still change with everything. And Gina will say to you as well, just keep going. You're getting close. You know, it's like a striker he's getting the chances, but maybe not putting them away. And your time will come. And just think, me and Gina could win All Out and be level with you two anyway. So it's not over till it's over. The episode's nearly over now. You know, I meant as a whole. So what we're going to do, because I've decided if we end up doing All Out predictions, we'll probably be here till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I've got a job to get to tomorrow. So what I was thinking is with All Out, we'll just send it to each other after the show, get that sorted out, because we'll be reviewing All Out in 2 weeks. Next week, we're doing Payback. And what I thought about doing then is, because we're not going to have time on this show, is to talk about CM Punk and go into a bit more detail before Payback next weekend. Does that sound good for everybody?
That sounds awesome.
All right, cool. So all we got to do is just wrap it up. So overall, we talk about the show in itself. So for me, it was a great spectacle, but obviously overshadowed in the end for what happened to Punk, which we'll talk about. But as a show, Jaxie's show overall, tell me what your thoughts of the show was, your match, your MVP, and your rating, please.
Okay. I think overall, I'm gonna. This comes from a biased point of view, but like being there live just kind of was really surreal and something I never imagined kind of happening at the beginning of 2023. So I have to say, my overall experience was just absolutely incredible. It was amazing. Obviously, we were kind of all in the moment, so none of us were kind of, in between matches, none of us were looking at social media. So I'm not going to judge the overall event on the things that transpired or the things that we found out that had transpired after. I'm just going to base it on the event itself, the experience that we kind of had and everything like that. My match of the night, surprisingly, I actually have gone FTR and Young Bucks on that. Watching it live, the amount of sort of like moments for me just really stood out. And I do agree with Monty in some sense where I feel like it probably wasn't the best match between the two of them, but seeing it live was just a complete different experience, and just one that I thoroughly enjoyed and could see what I would want to watch them live, both teams live again. So I'm going to go with that. MVP. I'm actually going to go MJF on this one because MJF has been just playing a really great game. Throughout all of this, all of us are really still anticipating when this devil is going to come out. So I'm going to give him MVP for the whole night overall.
And what's your score out of 10 for the whole show?
Yeah, I'm really biased. So I've enjoyed myself so much. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. But I'm very, very biased here.
People listening for the first time, Jaxie to give it a 9 is like giving it 12 out of 10. Like, I don't think Jaxie's
exactly. It's really rare. Yeah. It's very rare for me to do. It really is. But I can't deny how much I enjoyed myself. So I'm being honest with this one. Yeah, well, not like I'm not honest with the others, but
you're full of shit.
No, it's not that. But I'm just telling you how much I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I can't rate it lower because of my overall experience of it. Not with everything that kind of we found out after.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Gina, same to you then. What's your match of the night, MVP and rating?
Okay, well, my match of the night, I think I'm going to give it to Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. Just because Will Ospreay was just amazing in that match. And he was so fun to watch for the second time. And yeah, I really liked it. So I'm going to go with Will and Chris. MVP, I'm going to give to MJF as well. I think he deserves an Oscar for the performance he's put in. I do look forward to seeing what MJF does next. I am disappointed with the ending of the match, but it doesn't take away from the work and effort that MJF has put into it. So yeah, he's definitely at the top there. Overall, again, I feel like I'm biased because I was there in person. It made the event so much more fun, and I'm basing this event overall rating off of my feeling of just walking out of Wembley from the show. I will add in there is that little side disappointment for the women's match, that being just one match and it being like a really short match as well. But aside from that, I am going to give it a 9.
No, do you know what, Gina? I'm exactly the same as you. Got a 9. MJF from MVP and Will Ospreay is the match. Monty, what about you, my friend?
Yep, I'm extremely biased. Of course, my MVP is the only guy who's actively signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yeah, my MVP was Will Ospreay. Again, like I said, I feel like he really showed people he's more than just a spot guy. He is the best wrestler in the world, in a lot of people's eyes, deservedly so. And to have this moment at Wembley in front of his countrymen, I just thought it was special altogether. And he was fighting one of the greatest of all time. And again, I can't argue with Max, so that's a great shout there. And that's obviously my match of the night also. And my overall score will be. I'm with you guys. Honestly, it's funny. You guys were there. I was expecting 9.5s and. A little bit of, but again, 9 is right where I would put it. Even viewing it from my television screen, it was really, really good overall. Even the worst thing about the show was a really good match because I didn't think the women did anything wrong. I just thought, again, the time and just the situation was bad. So honestly, yeah, I thought this was a really good show.
Yeah, it's really weird because there was so many things kind of going into it, and I think if it had maybe like a proper 5-star match, if it had like a major, I know it had title changes, but even with then, yeah, it's weird. I think we'll look back and once the hubbub of CM Punk has died down, we'll look back and think this is a really good first edition of.
Right.
But of course, they'll be back next year.
Definitely.
And who knows, Monty? You may be with us at All In. God knows what happens.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, if I ever come to London, you guys are the first to know. I've said that, and I mean it.
For sure.
So I think that is it. We're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it on the bombshell. And I've never done this before. Cliffhanger. CM Punk has just been fired. Get our response and our thoughts next week as we review Payback. But that is it for now. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Jar. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find you and listen to you even?
Like you said, on the Twitter banner, at my Monty Pod, and definitely check out my podcast, Reviewing the G1 Classics.
Yeah, do you believe we've done 6 hours together nearly in 2 days?
2 days, right? Amazing. I really love this, guys. I'm not being held against my will.
And I can't wait to do next week. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Jaxie, what about you? Where can people find and follow you?
I'm on both Instagram and Twitter at Jaxie Scarlett.
Perfect. And Gina?
I'm on both at Purple Pain.
Lovely. WNR on Facebook and Instagram across all Google platforms. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube podcast. We've got latest clips and podcasts at the same time on YouTube. Do SoundCloud, also on Spotify and iTunes. We can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that's it. Like I said, our next episode will be next weekend, and it will be WWE Payback. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, thank you for not only being a part of this podcast, but looking after me last week as well. You were my rock during All In. Do you know that you didn't leave my side, and I appreciated it.
No, it was a lot of fun, a great experience. I can't wait to do it same time next year. So, yeah, it was fun to review, and I can't wait for the next one.
No shadow of that. And of course, Gina, and Gina, hopefully now we're back to where we were before that instant. You know, like, I think we feel good at this time.
Yeah, after getting through the show, I feel like the forgiveness is there. So we're good. We're good.
And of course, Monty, like I said, man, it's always a pleasure and never a chore. Thank you for joining me for 2 days worth of action. I hope it has been worthwhile.
Definitely, no problem. And I have to get to probably the London show or a show with you guys before you ruin all this chemistry that we have, James. I can't let you do that.
I need help, Monty. I told you I'm going to fuck it up. I'm going to fuck it up. It always happens. But that is it. Thank you for listening, everybody, and bye.